Should be on YouTube as well.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Well, Maddie read her AR book yesterday, and it went to both YouTube and Twitch. That's how I test out our system, David. My daughter sits down and reads books online.
Hey, it's more popular than we are.
Hoping to get our subscriptions up based on Maddie reading books.
Totally.
Whatever it takes.
We can make it a noon thing. Lead right into Seth's show.
Speaking of which, well, I'll get it to you. We're gonna have a Friday obligation coming soon.
Friday obligation.
Yep.
That's it.
I've got an idea. That's not true. I stole an idea.
Good.
My buddy O'Meara saw him when I played golf Saturday. Every Friday on his show, they do a virtual happy hour online with their listeners. He said it has been very popular.
Cool.
And I actually think we could get that sponsored. He goes, well, they've done it like for 4 weeks. This last week, everybody brought their wives on. The wives all had a drink. People, but they're like us. Their lives are out there. And
local sports show this
I'm like,
town is
that's a pretty good idea.
Here's Miller and Moulton.
Be good.
You're live. How the heck are you? Miller and Moulton on this final Tuesday of the month of April in 2020. It is the 28th day of the month. Thanks so much for being with us. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming at foxsportsfm.com. This and every show on the station is streaming at foxsportsfm.com. And, well, hopefully you'll sign up and take advantage of what we are offering on the Miller and Moulton Twitch and YouTube channels. Mark, how are you?
I am doing very well. David, I have a sincere question for you. You begin every show, and you have for the 12, 13 plus years we've done it together. You love the last days and first days, and when you say on this 28th day of April, were you doing that mainly just to remind yourself?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Is this your test every day to know where are you? The Admiral there. Who am I? Where am I? What do I? This is Admiral Stockdale.
Admiral Stockdale.
Yes.
And that's quite the obscure reference, but it's a great one. It is a great one. For those that don't know, the 92 vice presidential debate when Ross Perot was a big deal. And so you had Dan Quayle, the sitting vice president, Al Gore, Bill Clinton's running mate, and then Ross Perot's running mate was someone that none of us didn't even know. We were like, oh, my goodness, he's got a running mate. We've never seen or heard from the guy. Who is he? And so the debate starts, and Vice President Quayle speaks first, and Al Gore speaks second. And Admiral James Stockdale, the camera turns to him, and he looks directly in it and says,
At America.
Who am I? And what am I doing here? It was awesome.
He had 2 lines in that stick today. That's one. And the abortion issue was very big then as it is now, but maybe bigger than at any point I remember in debates.
Okay.
Now it's a justice thing, if you will. It doesn't seem to be a presidential thing. It's who they're going to put
on the court. Right.
But they both give, Quayle gives his, Gore gives his, and he looks up and says something effective, woman can do whatever she wants with her body.
That was it.
And it was it. And there was nothing. Everybody's waiting for more. And he's like, that's my 6 seconds. What else do you want out of me?
I know I've got 2 minutes.
But I really don't need it.
That's where the 6 seconds of truth originated from.
I think it is.
I think it is. James Stockdale. So there you have it. That's our Admiral Stockdale reference. If we ever go to it again, you'll know where it is that it is coming from. But yes, and Mark, also there are April's a big day in my little family's world. My wife's birthday's in the month. Our daughter's birthday is in the month. And so I say the dates in April just also to make sure that I'm, paying attention. I've got to make sure at the beginning and end of this month that, I'm on point. And on point basically means that I, just wish them a happy birthday. Nowadays we don't even do cards.
You don't. Speaking of which, okay, Here is a huge difference between the Miller household and the Moulton household. And it's really just my wife and the Moulton household. It has nothing to do with me. But yesterday, my wife has everybody's birthday down. And my wife, like, she was genuinely bothered when I told her when your wife's birthday was. She was upset. I didn't get her a card. I go, well, you didn't know when her birthday was.
Her husband didn't. So don't worry about it.
But she's literally like, I should have sent her a card. I'll write it down. And so she has birthdays in her phone. And when people's birthday comes, my wife goes out and buys a card. She sends the card. You of all people have to appreciate that. That's a stamp that goes in the mail. Don't be knocking the postal service.
I'm not.
And so
take it easy.
And so she sends cards out, and she was really distraught about your wife. But something happened yesterday that I still am having a difficult time getting over. Is that a friend of ours, who happens to be one of my friends, she bought a card for. It's a man. She wanted me to sign the card. I looked at her and I said, we don't buy cards for other guys. I've never bought a card for another guy in the history of this or any other lifetime. At a wedding, I'm more likely to put a $100 bill in an envelope with no name on it and stick it in there. And they're going to open it and go, oh, that's from Miller.
It's like the old days of the Christmas club at the bank. They just hand you an envelope and say, this is what you put into the account the whole year plus interest.
But she's like, you're not going to sign? I'm like, no. So she signed my name. I'm like, men don't. Have you ever bought a man a card that wasn't a father or a grandfather, a non-relative man, a birthday card?
A card, no, but wives do. And so I've had no problem doing the, you want me to sign it, I'll sign it deal. Yeah.
Wait a minute, your wife buys other people cards, but not you?
Oh, no. Yeah, my wife's into cards for others.
Really? That's great.
It's like your wife, right? Writes everybody's birthday down. Oh, yeah. No. That she's into all that.
Just Absolutely. Not in the house.
Right. But then she looks at me and goes, I don't want you to spend any money on me. Okay. I mean, I've gotten to the point in life in which, listen, if you say it, I'm not going to play this game. If you say don't spend any money on me, I'm not going to spend any money on you. And I'm assuming that you're telling me exactly what you want. I'm not going to play this passive-aggressive read your mind game. I'm too old. I don't have the time. I don't have the energy. I don't. So, and also, Mark, what is a card these days? It's just another way to potentially bring the coronavirus into your house.
Oh, good gracious.
That's how my wife used it. And my wife, all right, she was, ahead of the, pardon the expression, ahead of the curve, all right, on this whole COVID-19 thing. Her panic meter was much earlier than most everybody else's.
Oh, yes, by weeks.
Yes. So if she's like, hey, don't do it, I'm like, okay, fine. I mean, you got to admit, it's a bad time to have a birthday right now. Like your daughter's 6th birthday is coming up Saturday. I mean, in an ideal world, oh my goodness, this would have been an event.
I know. I have to. To be frank, I'm hoping that the governor on Friday or the county commissioners, if they want to allow 10 people to get together by Saturday, I'd be the happiest SOB on the planet. I really would. I've been thinking about what I'm going to do, and a gentleman who I've known for a long time, he was ended up on one of the channels doing news. He plays. Bob Tabarini's his name. He's played in A200. He plays Sideshow Bob. He's one of the one-man guitar guys. Good dude. And he's been showing up in neighborhoods with his amp on the back of his truck and playing like these neighborhood concerts. And I think so. And so I said, what do you charge? And we went back and forth. And I said, well, do you know? And he's a big Disney guy. And he's one of those adults that I have, issues with how much they go to Disney. But what are you going to do? And I said, do you know any Frozen? And he goes, I don't hit those notes. I'm like, how can you, Mr. Disney, not know a Frozen song for me? But I'm trying. I may have him showing up Saturday to play a couple of Maddie's rock songs that she likes. I mean, you're trying to dig of what can you do to figure something out cool for your kid that'll be kind of memorable. And, well, it's obviously going to be memorable because this will be your coronavirus birthday. Remember the coronavirus birthday?
And obviously in the grand scheme of things, it's a very little thing, but it is just one of those deals where if, we were talking about months and years, and this time of year, in this particular year, it's awkward. There is no question about it. 479-5551 is how you can chime in on the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line. And by the way, if you've done something recently or attended, all right, a very small party / soiree that's still fit within the confines, and you want to throw an idea out to Mark, all right, do so on the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text line, 479-5551, as a creative way to celebrate a 6-year-old's birthday coming up on Saturday.
David, you have uttered a phrase that I tease you for. But every morning about this time, we get to the poll question, and you feel out of touch with
my peeps.
Right. I want to let you know, David, in a very hard-fought and highly contested vote, reminiscent of every presidential election in Florida since 1992, Pop-Tarts take down pizza rolls, and an unprecedented upset, in my opinion.
I know it is in your opinion. I
53-47. It was very close.
What did I win by? 53-47?
53-47. Nearly 200 people.
Right?
High turnout. This was presidential. This was not primary.
Right.
People showed up for this one.
We allowed independents to vote, is what you were saying.
Exactly right. Exactly right. This was not done by partisan lines. I do think that Hawk there, Mark Hochmeyer from from QAM, I think he sent it over the top late. I mean, he made an eloquent speech on behalf of the Pop-Tart in the 8 o'clock hour, David, that I really think sent it over the top.
It did help. It did help.
Made me want to go get that frozen cinnamon thing.
I'm not even aware of all the new kinds of Pop-Tarts. I mean, to me, it's just, to go with the old staple. I mean, take the brown sugar cinnamon just out of there. Yeah, that's fine. Right out of there you go.
But he's talking about that with ice cream.
No, I know.
Wow.
Like the old Good and Plenty, good humor stuff. It's like, what? Really? Damn. That sounds just downright inviting. But yes, 53-47 in a big turnout. I will say, if you were following on Twitter, there were some very interesting responses. One gentleman, when he was in the Navy, he said he used to just packed his bag with Pop-Tarts. All right, brought it on the ship with him on the Navy. And then, one gentleman's kid apparently likes them microwaved. And I went, really? Over toasted? So, just turns out there was more ways to consume Pop-Tarts than I thought, Mark. I got to be honest. That I learned yesterday.
Well, I will say I learned last night that the air fryer is a much better way to make a pizza roll than an oven. You can get that sucker done in like 4 minutes to a perfect temperature.
That's good to know.
It really is. That's really important. Is. A couple of things we didn't get to yesterday, David, and we spent a lot of time talking the draft. Yeah. And we will today. Pat Kerr went on the show, and we'll get at it. But something that you brought up last week, and I think over the weekend is when it happened. It may have happened on Friday, but it looks like the NCAA told the Power Five or the non-Power Fives, we had Mike Oresco on, and all the talk about trying to get the waiver of athletics. That's not going to happen. It was a good day for sports that don't make money at the collegiate level yesterday.
Well, I'm not sure. See, that's the interesting part here. Did the NCAA come to the defense of the Olympic sports, or did they unknowingly kill the Olympic sports? Because let's face it, what the colleges want to do over the next 4 years, because they're going to take a huge financial hit here in the next however many months. They wanted to be able to not have to play by the Title IX and or other rules that are on the books involving, baseball gets 11.7 scholarships and and they want to be able to offer less. Well, less, Mark, many times you go the whole multiplication, Like you were talking about the Lions potentially moving down and maybe the offers weren't that good. And you're like, yeah, but something's better than nothing. It's the old, if you do the math equation, 1,000,000 times 0 is
still 0,
as opposed to 3 times 2 is 6. That's bigger than 0. And so what I'm wondering is, by the NCAA saying, and maybe it's well-intentioned, that, hey, you can't stick it to these quote-unquote minor sports. No, that's not what we're about. Fine. What if they then just make them go away?
Well, I think...
You know what I'm saying? That if they cut baseball scholarships from 11.7 to 6, softball from whatever the number is, if they cut all the scholarship amounts in half, while it definitely sucks, at least we still have those sports and we still have some scholarships. I'm fearful now that these sports are going to flat go away.
Well, I think a lot are safe because most of these non-power fives are running at the bare minimum to be at that level, the number of sports that they have to have. I mean, not too many schools are, where you only have to have 16 sports. Not too many are running 22, 24. And the ones that are, the Stanfords, the UCLAs, the Michigans, I think excel in those others enough that they'll be around. I think it saved a lot of them because they have to have them. That was the way I interpreted it. And it's interesting. You and I didn't talk about it, but we had been talking about it. And yesterday there was draft to get to, but it came out and I had it in front of me the whole show. And I'm like, man, there's a lot of meat on this. And it's funny how we kind of read similar articles, interpreted them quite a bit differently.
Well, because what do you do if you're the NCAA if essentially the entire Mountain West Conference says, yeah, I don't know what to tell you, but we're not going to offer up these sports anymore. You force the issue with us. We are hemorrhaging money because of the coronavirus, and basically kick us out of Division I. I dare you. Kick us out of Division I. I dare you. Because the other thing they could say is, we can drop down to FCS. Now, granted, because since they're a group of 5 and they've got television contracts, I don't know if they drop down to FCS, whether or not CBS has to stop televising them. I mean, that conference has a deal with CBS and most of their stuff's on CBS Sports Network. Well, if they drop down to FCS and then also they'd offer 20 less scholarships for football, I'm wondering, Mark, whether or not if we don't have a football season or we have it without fans, which is what I think is going to happen to a large degree in college ball, and these universities are going to lose tens of millions of dollars because of it, whether or not they play hardball with the NCAA and basically do the old Robert Conrad.
I dare you to knock it off my shoulder.
I dare you. I dare you. I double dare you. Yeah, I really wonder, Mark, because money is what this is all about. And if they're not getting it and they don't have it and they're fearful they're not going to have it next year, are these universities and these athletic departments willing to lose 8 figures, potentially with crooked numbers at the front of the 8 figures, to play all these other sports? And Mark, in the next year, they don't know how much money they're going to be able to recoup either. This could linger a while. I'm fearful we could have a stare down here from conferences as a whole, safety or in numbers. What if an entire conference stares down the NCAA and goes, I don't know what to tell you. We can't afford to do this. You're really going to kick us out of the NCAA? We're getting rid of 6 sports.
Is this bigger? Maybe I didn't read enough into this, but David, you have been surmising for the past 5-6 years minimum. And you and I have had long discussions on this. When do the big boys take their ball and go do their own thing? Do you see this more as the last line in the sand between the NC and its member institutions? Because the one part about college football going forward is, and we've talked about this, hey, the SEC can do what it wants to do, and the ACC, they're all independent. There's no czar of college football, which I think's terrible for this year, that we're all going to act independently. Do you see this as the brink of what you've been talking about?
Yeah. Yeah, because this was the perfect storm that for the last couple years I've been saying, if we had some sort of financial calamity, and, the most recent reference was the recession of '08. But if we had some sort of financial calamity, schools are leveraged, athletic departments are leveraged. They've been fighting the arms race, and now all of a sudden the revenue they're expecting is not coming in. What is the first thing they're going to look to do? Cut all the sports that are not producing revenue.
Which is all of them that are not named football, men's basketball, and then every school has a sport.
Right.
Typically. Some have a couple, because I would never tell you that Florida gymnastics doesn't make money. It probably does. But it doesn't mean that it would everywhere. Florida, Georgia, and Alabama, their gymnasts probably make money. Those are the only 3 schools in the country. A couple of baseball teams do it a couple of places. But by and large, you have 2 sports that make money.
Right. A few places wrestling is big. A few places hockey does really well. A few places women's basketball does really well. But for the most part, there are 2 money-making sports, football and men's basketball. Right. And so what is the first thing that universities are going to look to do? They're going to look to cut. I mean, there are stories every day. I could include Mark in the starting 5 every day, and I got one written down now that I might throw in about a school in which, pay cuts across the board. And then some of the big boys are even getting cuts on top of that. That's just now. That's just because the NCAA didn't have a men's basketball tournament. And so the checks that were going to be sent out are going to be about 60% less than what they were going to be.
I think
that's just because of that.
I think college athletics is the biggest story we're not talking about throughout the coronavirus. We were talking about in sport. Yeah, in sports. We're talking about the NBA. When are they going to come back? The NHL, the draft in the NFL. When are we going to play tennis, NASCAR, golf? When are we going to play college football is all people have talked about. But Ken Kavanaugh came on and told us what the number was that FGCU did not get because of the men's basketball tournament. That's a factual number right now. Bang. The line item on his budget that went away that he could not control.
Never mind. You imagine, just forget the 239. Imagine you're working in a college athletic department at any city in the country. Go out and sell sponsorships right now. Most school years in college are July 1 to June 30th. So they're 2 months away from you're out in first, but definitely second quarter. What are you doing? You're renewing all of your business deals from the past year. Try being out there right now, and you could be the biggest deal in your town. You could be in Lawrence, Kansas. Go out and try to renew sponsorship deals right now. I mean, the financial impact of this on college sports, we believe, is going to be bigger, cut deeper than in any other sport.
And Lawrence, Kansas won't be as bad as, for that matter, Manhattan, Kansas. Right. But certainly not to the levels of Fort Myers, Florida, of Robert Morris outside of Pittsburgh, of Eastern Michigan and Ypsilanti. These schools are operating on one-year deals for the most part with their advertisers. When you're dealing with the SEC or the Big Ten or the Big 12, you're in multi-year agreements. David and I have talked about this at length with the NFL. If Coors Light doesn't want to jump on board, Bud Light or Miller Lite are right there to take it and go with it. But when you're dealing with small, and when you're dealing here locally, and I've done it, whether it's the Everblades, whether it's the Mighty Muscles, whether it's FGCU, these are year-to-year scholarship, year-to-year sponsorships. By and large, you don't get big multiple-year deals at this level. And we know what it's like out there.
And so the financial impact in the college sports world And, Mark, you might be right. You might be right that the NCAA in the last 72 hours saved the Olympic sports. Or they will have unknowingly pushed athletic departments and maybe conferences as a whole to the brink in which they just decide we're not going to offer these sports anymore. And look back at the NCAA and say, you're really going to drop us? I mean, think about it, Mark. Think about if the American or the Mountain West, the biggest of the group of fives, never mind if some Power Five conferences just said, we're not offering these sports anymore. You're really going to drop us from your membership, huh? You're not going to want us in your NCAA tournaments? I mean, seriously, especially, we all know the schools involved. You're looking right at the NCAA, so you're not going to put us in your basketball tournaments anymore, huh? You're going to drop our membership. We're no longer NCAA-worthy conferences and institutions? Really? Okay. Gotcha. I have wondered for years whether or not the Olympic sports were going to become club sports. That the colleges were going to be looking for ways because they were not, Mark, stopping their spending. Nobody was reining in their spending. And I thought they were going to ruin the other sports because they won't stop spending money.
Why would you stop? The check from the Big Ten network was only getting bigger. The check from the SEC network was only getting bigger. The check from the NCAA tournament, David, was only getting bigger. And then it all stopped. And what effect?
On a dime.
What effect will it have on collegiate athletics? We have spent the majority of our shows talking about the impact on the pro sports, the impact on us from a sports fan standpoint. But the collegiate athletics, and I've said many times, the minor league sports, those are the ones post-COVID-19 heading into their seasons, what they do going forward and how they go forward. Miller and Moulton. Great show lined up as always. It is a Tuesday. That means Pat Kerwin to give us his thoughts on the NFL draft that just passed. We'll have a poll question on the other side and the starting five all coming up. Miller and Moulton. So glad you could join us this morning on Fox Sports Radio, streaming at foxsportsfm.com, and we are back on YouTube and Twitch TV.
Our sound is a sound that makes you stop. Stop. And listen.
Listen to me and you listen well.
It's a collective voice that calls out to you, the fan.
We get a lot of zany people that call in.
This is our sound.
We're dealing with sick people here.
They're just absolutely nuts. Crazy stuff happens. That's all I'm saying.
And you can only get it here. Get crazy, get wild. On Fox Sports Radio.
Marketplace is sponsored by Kronos, helping businesses attract, retain, and engage employees through cloud-based human capital management. Kronos.com. Kronos, workforce innovation that works.
Dial star 2020. Friends, I care.
When it comes to cataract surgery, the lens you choose matters. And Dr. Jonathan France and the caring team of surgeons at France Eye Care want to help you navigate your vision challenges with an intelligent solution, the PanOptix intraocular lens. Dr. France, proud to not only be the first in Southwest Florida to bring you the breakthrough technology of the trifocal solution, he's also the #1 PanOptix surgeon in the state of Florida. PanOptix, specially designed to help patients see 20/20 at distances that are near, far, and even in between. Experience the freedom of living without glasses for distance driving, computers, and reading. With PanOptix, you'll experience a clear advantage that you didn't know was possible. See your future Julie in 2020. said, save the money for Vegas in the slots.
Yeah, she sent me it.
Star 2020 from your cell phone or call 239-418-0999.
Friends, I care. For professional roofing, the name you need to know is D.R. Martineau.
Did you ever butter a Pop-Tart is what someone's asking.
No.
No.
See,
price that's fair. The quality is second to none. For professional roofing, the name you need to know D.R. Martineau.
Pool need a checkup? Call the doctor, the Pool Doctor.
Hi, Dr. Mark here. Do the math. Taking care of
The
your
Bears
kids,
guy
not a good
came
use of
back.
your time and money.
That wasn't on Twitch. That was on the regular one, but I answered him. The Bears guy that had the Trubisky thing.
For over 40 years,
People have to have been listening to the show, but it's funny because he sent like 3 more texts. He goes, I knew better than to do that at a stoplight. What I was trying to explain was...
Listen to the Dan Patrick Show at work.
What do you want to do for a poll question today?
Do you want to go off of this?
No.
All right.
These are unprecedented times. So
I think we're better off doing non-sports, to be honest with you.
All right. Is there, should Lee County open the beaches?
Year. That's 12 issues of the stories that will inspire you to stay Gulf Shore strong. It's our way of saying
we're just asking.
Supporting local journalism. Call now.
Should Lee and Collier County reopen the beaches? You want to ask a question and get people fired up? That's one.
The physicians and staff at Center for Men's
Look at him, everybody. Look at the 60. Look at David contemplating. He loves the question.
I'm trying to think, should it be more than just yes or no? Like, should it be yes, May 1st, yes, May 15th, yes, June 1st? No.
C4MH.com treats all offices with Microban 24, the most advanced antivirus disinfectant available today. And unlike any other disinfectant, Microban 24 kills viruses for 24 hours after application.
How about this?
The staff wears
if they
level
open the
1
beaches, would you go?
And you can have one too. They monitor their temperatures, and soon they'll do the same for you when you walk in the door. All pens and clipboards are antimicrobial, and when you walk in, you will use hand sanitizer. C4MH.com.
Or ask them,
so that their staff and patients,
because like we're going to talk about the NFL and college starting on time here.
C4MH.com, and I know because I'm a patient there
would
too.
you go?
There will be parties again soon, and family gatherings. There'll be parades and sporting events.
I mean, you can go local.
To help our community,
because we could ask the others at any point.
Respond to the 2020 census now. Spend a few minutes online today to impact the next 10 years of healthcare, infrastructure, and education. Respond online today to make America's tomorrow brighter. Shape your future. Start here at 2020census.gov. Paid for by U.S. Census Bureau.
Here we go. Now back to Miller and Moulton. This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
27 minutes before the top of the hour on this Tuesday, the 28th of April. Thanks so much for being with us. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. This and every show on the station is streamed at foxsportsfm.com. And, well, Miller and Moulton, we have our own YouTube and Twitch TV channel. It is free. Please sign up, and then you can watch and listen to the show. And on Twitch, we offer exclusive programming and interaction during the show and during the commercial break. So twitch.tv, the Miller and Moulton channel. If you miss any part of the show, that's where Connecticut comes in the Connecticut cast, and they've offering some of the best deals that we've seen in all the years that Miller and Moulton have been affiliated with Connecticut. We both have it in each of our homes. We've been customers for over 30 years. We rave about it. You don't have to go to the grocery store and worry about picking up bottled water with the revolutionary reverse osmosis system that is Connecticut. Best specials that we've seen them offer in quite some time. Connecticut, proud sponsor of our podcasts. Every hour of the show gets its own podcast thanks to Connecticut 908-2300. What are you thinking for a poll question today?
Well, I was going to jump outside the lanes.
Really?
Yeah.
You're going to cannonball in the pool?
Pretty well, not the pool. The Gulf of Mexico.
Huh. You know, it's you gotta be out there pretty far to cannonball, you know.
On a boat, and you can still do that.
Right.
But maybe just wade in then. Maybe not cannonball, maybe just walk into the water.
Huh.
Because
where are you going here?
Today, I believe on Fort Myers Beach, if you're a resident, in 25 minutes you can go beaching. From 7 to 10. They're allowing you 3 hours on the beach in the morning, but you have to live on Fort Myers Beach in order to get on the beach.
So that's their way of beginning the process.
They're starting, yeah.
Right.
Now they didn't have a lot after that. A lot of beach residents that I know were upset. Like, okay, what's next? But
baby steps, right?
Right, but I have a feeling we're getting really close, and I'm wondering if they opened, how many of you? Because I can't tell you the last time I've been to the beach. If they open the beaches, I'm running.
Well, you did say a couple weeks ago, you blurted out of nowhere, David, what is it that right now you are thinking, dreaming? What is it that you want to do when we, quote unquote, are back to normal? And I said, I just want to go to a sports bar. I want to be around people. I want to watch sports. I want to get my food and my beer and talk to the people next to me and high five a couple people during a game. And that's what I want to do. And you said, I want to go to the beach.
Yeah. You forget the good things you have until they're gone. That old adage there. And I think these beaches opening, I just think we are chomping at the bit. It's Seth Everett, who's guest hosting us on Twitch right now. Seth's in Jersey. He's got a very different attitude than we have here, and rightly so.
Right. We've talked about that. Depending on where you live, dramatically impacts your thought process on that.
And around here, we've gone through a bunch of different things of when the peak's supposed to be, and it was supposed to be Sunday, and then they said that was wrong. It was actually 2 weeks ago. And people are antsy, and I've noticed, and I haven't been out a lot. Like, I've actually gone the other way. I have gone out less and less. But the last time I was out was on Friday. I had to make a drive. And I just kind of remarked to myself that, wow, there's a lot of people out here right now. A lot more than the last time I was out. And it seems to me people are getting rather antsy. So if they open...
Will you come?
Are you going?
Okay. All right. So that's going to be the poll question?
Yeah, I think we'll put a couple dates on there. But if they open this weekend, are you going? Because I think we're going to have some. I think by Friday we'll have at least one county that's going to open the beaches.
Well, it is May 1st, and we love our big dates. 1st, the 15th, that sort of deal. So, all right. You come up with it. 22 minutes before the hour. Time now for...
The Starting Five. 5 big stories that you need to know. This is Miller and Moulton Starting 5. Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
Upon further review, the NBA said, let's hold off for another week. The NBA is now saying Friday, May 8th is when they will allow players to return to team facilities for workouts. Part of the thing they're having to work out is the fact that the NBA's got teams in the New York metropolitan area and throughout the state of California. And obviously right now you can't go to those facilities and work out. Even if the NBA says open the doors, the state's like, no. So the NBA is having to work that out right now with a few of the governors. But obviously, the NBA did say mid-May is when we're going to make a decision on what we're doing when. So you could see the association inching their way towards wanting to resume. NFL news, the Texans pick up the 5th-year option on Deshaun Watson. If you're curious, Deshaun Watson last year is 3rd in the league, made $3.8 million. This year, he'll make $4.4 million. In 2021, without a long-term extension, Deshaun Watson will make over $20 million. So that is the significance financially of whether or not teams pick up the 5th-year option on their first-round picks. Someone like Deshaun Watson goes from 4.4 in year 4 to over $20 million in year 5. One other interesting NFL note, the Giants placed what's called the UFA, unrestricted free agent tag on outside linebacker Marcus Golden. He had 10 sacks last year. It does not mean that he's staying with the Giants, but it does mean that the Giants, if he signs elsewhere, would get a compensatory pick in next year's draft. If Golden does not sign with anyone by July 22nd, he returns to the Giants automatically and makes $5.25 million. Kansas, we were talking about colleges and cuts, and Bill Self, Les Miles, AD Jeff Long, they all took a 10% pay cut. They saved the university $500,000 going forward. I don't know how many people have caught this over the last 36 hours, but the presidents of Purdue and Oregon have both come out publicly and said, yeah, we're going to have kids on campus in August. Yeah, we're moving full steam ahead. The Purdue president went to great lengths with a lot of data to talk about the young people and how few are impacted by this seriously. And Oregon, meanwhile, just said, well, you know, we're moving on. We're going to be ready to go with kids on campus in August. So that's noteworthy, obviously. That's a Pac-12 president. That's a Big Ten president. And so they're obviously all talking amongst themselves. Now, it doesn't mean that you're going to get unanimous agreement within the conferences, but it is noteworthy. Two areas outside of the Southeast in which you have university presidents in April who are on record as saying, yeah, we plan on being open, kids on campus and going forward with sports on schedule. Very interesting. Major League Baseball trying to figure out how they're moving forward. The Texas Rangers' new ballpark, Mark, is very much in the discussion of these proposed plans, so much so, like if they start the season late and they need to, because of weather, play into November, but they need a place to play, the neutral site World Series, Mark, could be in the Dallas-Fort Worth area at the Arlington ballpark. The plan right now that has the most momentum in baseball is what's called the Texas, Arizona, Florida plan. You got 5 domed baseball stadiums in Texas, Arizona, and Florida. That, never mind the fact that if they wanted to use the old Rangers ballpark, which is still standing right next to the new Rangers ballpark. Now, granted, it's not domed, but it's still standing. And the weather in November is better there than it is a lot of other places in society. And the talk that maybe that's where everybody gets sent. Between Tampa, Miami, Dallas-Fort Worth, Houston, and Phoenix, that we send them to 5 different places, and et cetera, et cetera. Some news in the NHL, and we don't normally talk about presidents of franchises getting let go, but John McDonough is one of those that did a remarkable job. If people remember the Chicago Blackhawks 12-plus years ago, they were not only a grease fire on the ice, they were worse off the ice. John McDonough left the Cubs 13 years ago and was hired by the Blackhawks, and he's the one that helped get it started again. Got them back on local TV and, you know, got it and became a big deal again. And then the product coincided. The Blackhawks, Mark, who at the time of the stoppage had 531 consecutive home sellouts. You know, you're doing 41 a year, so do the math. And basically, since John McDonough's second year on the job, the Blackhawks have been sold out. And that's the biggest arena in the sport. Yeah, he got fired yesterday. So interesting. Don't know what that means for the Blackhawks going forward, but I don't know how you could do a better job than what John McDonough has done with the Blackhawks. He took a grease fire and made it the hottest Kool-Aid ticket in the sport.
Yep. They unfortunately signed a couple of long-term deals that got him in trouble with a tough cap in that sport. Couldn't get out from underneath it. And then when they won, lost some big players. So doesn't make a lot of sense, but it is a sport that recycles administration as quickly as any out there, David. They go through them like chiclets.
I mean, he is a longtime Chicago sports figure, though.
Right.
He had done 20-plus years with the Cubs, left the Cubs to go work with the Blackhawks. Wonder if he gets picked back up. But they thought it was noteworthy nonetheless. And, Mark, I just want to throw this out there. Post the draft, the Miami Dolphins have the 10th most cap room. Don't know who you could spend it on right now, outside of Jadeveon Clowney. But there are 100-plus quality free agents still out there.
I'd call the team in Jacksonville, offer them draft picks for next year, and sign the guy long term. That's one way to use some of that cap money right now.
Well, the Dolphins have the 10th most cap room left at a shade over $20 million. Bills are 9th. Chargers are 8th. But the Cleveland Browns, Mark, have $37.5 million of cap room. Now, you need to put aside a few million for your draft picks. But $37.5 million post-draft the Browns right now have. Browns 1, Skins 2, Detroit 3, Denver 4, which is another reason why they should have done the Trent Williams deal, Indy 5, Eagles 6th, Titans 7th, Chargers, Bills, Dolphins. What's interesting here is 7 of those 10 teams missed the playoffs last year. See, to me, that's inexcusable. You're coming off a bad season, in some cases bad seasons. You need to spend this.
Yeah,
dude.
I will give a couple of teams a little benefit. One of them is actually Miami. Because I don't necessarily think going out and getting free agents makes them a playoff team. Although yesterday, we had the first ever throw a few shekels on the Dolphins to win the division comment ever made on this show since, 1984. But I don't know if I would go after Clowney if I were the Dolphins, because I don't know what you'd get out of Clowney this year if things don't start out well. I think Clowney wants to play for a team from the get-go that he thinks has a realistic shot to make a Super Bowl. But the young man in Jacksonville, that makes sense to me because he's already made his promise. He's going to play hard for the next team. And you get this kid in with Flores, you've got a plan with Tua, and you can take him till he's 30 and have a legit shot. I would be talking to Jacksonville and using some of my draft capital from 21 to get him.
But I mentioned those 10 teams: Browns, Skins, Lions, Broncos, Colts, Eagles, Titans, Chargers, Bills, Dolphins, because, well, we still have 100 or so free agents that are out there with experience that are considered quality. They're going to start getting signed here, wondering if these are the teams that will do the signing. And at 13 minutes before the hour, that is
the starting 5 big stories that you need to know. This is Miller and Moulton Starting 5. Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
A little bit later on in the show, your chance to find out who today's sponsor is. If you want to buy lunch for a hospital worker near you, we'll give you the sponsor and the phone number in order to call. Over 75 lunches purchased yesterday. Great job by the audience. And obviously we understand many of you suffering right now. And so we don't, for those that can and want to, that we are offering this opportunity up. 12 minutes before the hour, Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for being with us on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Welcome to the program.
This is the Dan Patrick Show.
The Green Bay Packers, when you move up from 30 to 26, that's not he fell into your lap. You went up to get him. That's one thing if you go, hey, he was the best guy on the board, so we had to take him. I get it. Now, 3 years from now, 4 years from now, you may look back and go, man, what a great move that they made. I watched it unfold, and I also, go back to an interview that Pat McAfee conducted with Aaron Rodgers. And here's what Aaron Rodgers had to say. This is before the Packers selected Jordan Love last night.
Yeah, we haven't picked a skill player in the first round in the last 15 years, so that'd be kind of cool.
Well, you got your skill position player. He's called a quarterback. We love the draft. It's one night, but it can shape the future of NFL teams for years.
Dan Patrick. The Dan Patrick Show.
That's pretty much what we're doing here.
Weekdays at 9 a.m. on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
Gotta go to
Galliana Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, Galliana Kia, and Alfa Romeo Maserati of Fort Myers are taking every precaution to keep you and your family safe with dealer-to-door delivery. Plus, we're making deals we've never made before on over 1,500 new and pre-owned vehicles. Sleek, sophisticated Kia Forte lease, 0 down, $149 per month. Yes, a new Kia for 0 down, $149 per month. Loaded, luxurious Grand Cherokee Limited lease, 0 down, $269 per month. That's right, Jeep Grand Cherokee Limited, 0 down, $269 per month. Plus, Galliana gives you interest-free financing up to 84 months, no payments for up to 120 days, and prepaid gas for a year. Our parts, service, and body shop are open to serve you at Galliana Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, Galliana Kia, and Alfa Romeo Maserati of Fort Myers. Call 239-481-2600. GallianaCars.com. 42-month lease on Jeep, 36 months Kia, 10,000 miles per year, 0 due at signing, plus first month tax, tag, title, dock, and dealer fee, 0 security deposit with lender approval.
94.1 Estero.
We are Buckforce.
This is The Herd with Colin Cowherd.
He's got weapons. He's got warm weather. And he's got a staff that is obviously listening to him. I'm sure part of this was Tom never, ever felt like a personnel decision. Tom had said it before. They don't ask me. I feel like Tom right now feels supported. All the boxes are being checked that weren't checked in Tampa, including, I bet you, Jason Light, the general manager, talked to Tom. They had an hour phone call and said, listen, we need a right tackle. That's going to be our first pick. You think Belichick's telling Tom what his first pick's going to be? No. And then Tom Price said, you know what I want? Can I bring Gronk? I mean, this stuff was prearranged, okay? This is not just happenstance. This is something Tampa told Tom Brady was going to happen, and this is what he wanted. He wanted fun. He wanted weapons. He wanted to be heard about personnel. Boom, now he is.
This is The Herd, weekdays at noon on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
You own a home with a tile or shingle roof? You live between Port Charlotte and Marco Island? Hello, I'm Jimmy Williamson with Williamson Brothers Roofing. If you answered yes to either question, it's very likely your roof suffered damage from Hurricane Irma that's not visible from the ground, and you may very well be entitled to a new roof for little or no money out of pocket. But you only have a 3-year window to make a claim.
Settle on
Time
for a
is
full
running
question.
out. If you have a tile or shingle roof and live between Port Charlotte and Marco Island, call us at 239-283-2013. It's a free, no obligation inspection that can benefit you in the form of a new roof. Williamson Brothers Roofing, we deal with the
I'm trying to
carrier
get
for you.
I got
Call us
something
at
going on with nothing bad. I'm just trying to figure out something
Again,
on
time is running out.
Twitch.
Call us at 239
so I can get the
2013. Williamson Brothers Roofing specializes in the claims process.
those notifications with the sound off,
standing
and I
by.
don't know how to do
We
it.
get claims approved. 239-283-2013.
Now back to Miller and Moulton.
All right, now we're
It's up,
getting
David.
somewhere.
No. This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
7 minutes before 7 o'clock on this final Tuesday in April. Thanks for being with us. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming at FoxSportsFM.com, and Miller and Moulton broadcasting live on, appropriately enough, the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch TV channels.
Poll question is up. The beaches in Charlotte County opened earlier this week. If the beaches in Lee and Collier are open for this weekend, will you go? Yes, grab the cooler. Nope, too soon.
There you have it. There you have it. That Mark Miller, the David Moulton, or MillerandMoulton.com. I'll get it out there and retweet it on my Twitter handle in due time. I like the poll question. I do. We don't have to wade into those waters, but you certainly can. Hey, quickly, you and I like odds. Post-draft, Super Bowl odds. Chiefs, a slight favorite over the Ravens. 6.5 to 1 for the Chiefs, 7 to 1 for the Ravens. Niners, 10 to 1. Fourth best odds.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Correct.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have better odds than the Saints, or the same odds as the Saints, is what you're telling me?
Better. 12 to 1 for the Bucs, 14 to 1 for the Saints.
Come
you got to
on.
throw some money on the Saints.
You're damn right you do.
At 14 to 1. Cowboys are 18 to 1. Patriots, Eagles, Steelers, Seahawks, all 25 to 1. Tell you what, and you're going to say I'm throwing money away. You might want to throw a few shekels on the Buffalo Bills at 28 to 1.
I think that's a terrific bet.
I mean, the value there for the team that's the clear favorite right now in their division. How about this? The Packers post-Super Bowl odds were 18 to 1. Post-draft, 33 to 1.
I was going 25 when you started that.
How about that? Colts, Vikings also 33-1. Browns. How about the Tennessee Titans? They went to the AFC Championship game. They brought just about everybody back. They've had 4 straight winning seasons. 40-1 on the Titans. Throw a few shekels down there, don't you?
Well, look, I could argue every part of that division got better. There's not a team in that division that's worse than it was a year ago, except for maybe Houston. Yeah, I mean, but the Bills, and why you have me fascinated on the Bills, and I think that's the best bet, is that's the only playoff team from the AFC where you can look at their division and know for a fact their division's far worse this year than it was a year ago.
Yeah, I don't know how much better the Jets are. The Patriots are clearly worse. Now, the Dolphins are clearly better, but still.
But the New England Patriots don't have Tom Brady.
Right. Well,
I mean, we can.
Other guys.
Yeah, but I mean, the Bills are the favorites to win that division right now. The clear-cut favorite to win that division right now, and I can get them at 28-1 to win the Super Bowl.
Texans are 50-1, by the way. Remember, extra playoff team in each conference this year, and the old adage, if you just get in the thing, anything can happen. So just throwing that out there. Dolphins are 80-1, by the way. They were 100-1 after the Super Bowl.
It's a hell of a draft.
1 minute.
Bengals, Jaguars, Giants. Longest odds to win the Super Bowl, 250-1. There you have it. Giants with the worst record in the NFL over the last 3 years. That's the new reality for that franchise.
Wow. And, David, if I were to predict that they had a top 10 draft pick next year, would you go yes or no?
Boy, I think you're right on the line, too, because I think they're going to be better.
But not that much better.
I mean, 6 wins maybe?
Which has you right around that anywhere between 8 and 13, depending how the chips fall.
Yep, exactly. Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for being with us. Pat Kerwin will join us in the 8 o'clock hour today on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Guys,
Glad you
the
did it.
physicians and staff at Center for Men's Health want you to know that C4MH.com is open and will remain open through this entire ordeal. C4MH.com has taken a multitude of steps to make their offices the safest places they can be. And here's a few examples that make that statement a fact. C4MH.com
David?
treats all offices with Microban 24, the most advanced antivirus disinfectant available today. And unlike any other disinfectant, Microban 24 kills viruses for 24 hours after application, touch after touch. The staff wears level 1 procedure masks, and you can have one too. They monitor their temperatures, and soon they'll do the same for you when you walk in the door. All pens and clipboards are antimicrobial, and when you walk in, you will use hand sanitizer. C4MH.com prepared for this early so that both their staff and patients remain safe. Safe is the way it's always been at C4MH.com, and I know because I'm a patient there too.
Hey, it's Mark Miller, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. Two places at once. One of the 30 to say thanks to healthcare heroes on the front lines of the coronavirus pandemic, weekday mornings starting at 8. Be one of the 30 to say thanks and buy a lunchbox special from one of our participating restaurants. We'll give you the phone number. You'll help Southwest Florida say thank you. Fox Sports Radio's 30 Say Thanks, delivering at least 30 lunches to healthcare heroes in our
You got
community.
anything here? Because I got something.
Good. I like your something.
Okay.
You need a checkup? Call the doctor, the pool doctor.
Hi, Dr. Mark here. LED color-changing pool lights can create an after-dark backyard oasis. Pick your color
I
or
thought that
select
wasn't
one of
a
the
bad
light
little
shows.
one.
You can see
Just,
how dramatic it really is
quick
on our
odds there.
website. We're
Yeah.
a family company.
And what's funny is when you said odds, I thought you said gods, and I nearly went, well, which god? I don't know about that, David. I don't know if I like all gods.
Diagnostic calls. That's
I'm glad you
mypooldoctor.com.
said it twice really quickly, because if you saw my eyebrows, I was like, where's sports gods? What gods is he going with here?
AM from Naples to Cape Coral and all of Southwest Florida. 105.9 Fox Sports Radio.
Apparently,
Here's what's trending now.
Albert on Twitter said,
C4MH.com.
if you're in the New York City or Trenton, Newark, Philly areas, the Blue Angels and Navy Thunderbirds are putting on flyovers. I don't know how close your mom is to that, but it was mentioned that I don't know if she'll be able to see any of that.
Gotcha.
And I know she's listening on Twitch right now. At least I hope so. Wish she'd get in the chat room.
There's only one way to wake up in the morning.
How the heck are you?
Yep, that's it. Miller.
This could end the bro hug. That would be great for you because there is nobody worse at the bro hug than one David Moulton.
And Moulton.
I used to be. 2019, I found my bro hug crew.
Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
All guests appear on the Goldberg Noon Abraham hotline. Goldberg-law.com.
Oh, I like
It's up to you now. It's up to you.
I like it.
Now, the best local sports show this town has ever heard. Here's Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
Couple minutes past 7 o'clock on this Tuesday morning, the 28th of April. Thanks for being with us. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming foxsportsfm.com and broadcasting live on the Miller and Moulton Twitch and YouTube channels. They are free. Sign up for them. It's an even more interactive experience. Never mind the fact. I mean, you get to see the two of us, and boy, if two people haven't been born to be on radio. That is Miller and Moulton. 479-5551, 479-5551. The Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line is how you can also chime in to the show. Are you and that Bears fan? Does this become a bit of a
no. I didn't answer the last. I didn't answer the last text from him, but it was great. Yesterday, late in the show, we got a text from a Bears fan that was all fired up about the tight end and that they need a dynamic tight end. That's what Nagy's always said. And when they had one, Trubisky got into the Pro Bowl, and he got taken to task a little bit for the Trubisky Pro Bowl comment. And so he was
just a little bit. I mean, considering he's not going to be their quarterback this year.
No, he said going to the Pro Bowl the year they had a tight end is what he was talking about, even though he got in because 45 people backed out.
Right. It's the only way, and the only way he's going in the future is if he pays for a ticket.
Right. So all of a sudden I came up, we've moved my daughter's school area just outside of the studio. So I kind of walk back and forth when she's watching videos, and I'll check Twitter or I'll just see if anything in the sports world's going on. Might have the television on in the background. And all of a sudden, if someone sends a text, the app that we have will flash if I don't have that window open. I'm like, oh, we got a text. Oh, we got 3 texts within 6 minutes from the same guy. And I always love that sometimes for you, the listener, the show continues throughout the day. And I'm for that. I have no issue. I many times will answer your text in the middle of the day. I just loved the fact that I sat down and went, I knew I shouldn't have been texting at a stoplight because I wouldn't be able to make my full point. I know that Trubisky got into the Pro Bowl only because others backed out. But with Burton out last season, the entire offense was garbage, which is how we ended up with 9 tight ends that no one ever heard of. They tried to put anyone with a pulse to fix the problem. My point is that I think the organization got 2 guys in the draft with potential first-round talent at positions identified as need. He just needed the time to get all of that out.
Fair enough.
And that's fair. So, no, I merely thought it was great this morning. I told you before the show is that the Bears guy was not done. And another thing.
Nice. Well played, Bears guy.
So that I enjoyed.
479-5551 if you're also not done. 479-5551 on the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line. A week from Thursday is the word now, is when the NFL is going to release their schedule.
Okay.
Thursday, May 7th is what got leaked out yesterday.
My
John
goal.
Sorry, Mark,
Oh,
what?
my goal by then, and I noticed this morning, David, because I know you and I have had the hair conversation with no haircuts in the distant future. I think by the schedule release, if I put a little gel in it, I can go full Gordon Gekko. I can just comb that sucker straight back. I tried it this morning, and I was short.
Mine's getting pretty long, pretty bushy. All right.
It's the width, not the length, David. It's the side width that's got me at this point.
Yeah, well, there's no doubt that's what's going to drive most everyone crazy. Also, the women, many of them unable, they're going to have to do the home dyeing and coloring, which they haven't done in a long time because they've been going out and getting it done. And so, desperate times here. I mean, all of a sudden, your blonde is not going to be a blonde, and or some gray hairs may start showing. That's going to create a worldwide problem, the likes of which we have never seen.
That may be tomorrow's poll question. When your wife's able to do her hair for the first time, what color do you want her to come back with? Because I wouldn't mind my wife walking in as a redhead one day. I've told her a few times, you want to come back as a redhead for a month or two? I'm game.
But is this just to spice things up a little bit?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, it is.
Wait, you mean a worldwide pandemic's not enough spice for your relationship?
We have a friend, and a great guy, moved away, and his wife unfortunately lost a battle with cancer. But when she was going through all of her chemo and lost her hair, she was wearing wigs. She was a beautiful lady, and so she'd have different wigs, and they'd go out on dates. And I always thought this was the greatest thing, because here she's going through that, and they knew a lot of people. So she's got on this, and her hair was always short. She wore her hair very short. So she has this long, either red or brown or black hair wig. And they're out on a date.
Right.
And he got more grief because people thought he was out with another woman with all that going on. I always think about that through all of that, the two of them kept such good spirits through everything. And that hair thing made me think of that story. And I always thought that was great, that he got a hard time for that.
Just had a gentleman on Twitch say, LMAO, my wife told me I might want to look up hair coloring 101. Yep. Desperate times. My wife asked me the other day, hey, do you think you'd be willing to cut my hair if I cut yours? And I went, absolutely not. Absolutely not. No way. Not going there. Nope. I don't care if I have to wait till August to get a haircut. You are not touching my hair. Nope. Don't trust you. Love you. Take a bullet for you. Not trusting you with a pair of scissors.
It grows back. Why is everybody so weirded out about their hair?
I'm envisioning did you ever have your mom, she woke up in the morning and realized today was class picture day at school and she didn't get you a haircut, and so all of a sudden she's telling you, sit tight, I need to trim your hair, and she does your bangs and this, that, and the other thing.
And they go on an angle?
Well, my mother did that one year in which she managed the bangs were not good, and she cut my ear. All right, that was the 8 minutes, and I wasn't moving around either. I sat still, and ever since then, I swore. So this is, about 45 years now that I have sworn that no. One, we wouldn't do it to any of my kids, and two, I'm not having it happen to me again. No, not going there.
I am the official bang cutter in this house.
Wow.
Because my wife does not trust herself to do it straight. I do a better job. My daughter sits still better for me.
Hold on. The vet?
The surgeon, yeah. The one who opens animals up with knives.
Right.
Yes.
The surgeon doesn't trust herself
with the bangs. And it's mostly because I have realized that she has the same relationship going on with her daughter that she did as a girl with her mother. They battle. It's a constant battle, whatever it is. And my wife looked at me last night. She goes, I don't get it. She is just far better for you. I mean, we do the school thing. It's easy. When Wednesdays come, I sit here and listen to it. I just leave. I go for a walk because they're battling by 9 a.m.
It's payback.
Oh, yeah. And I know Nancy is smiling ear to ear on a daily basis.
Absolutely. 479-5551, 479-5551, Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line. So John Oran was the first to report this yesterday, Sports Business Journal. Schedule release is going to happen. Thursday, May 7th is when they're thinking. So 9 days from now. So that, of course, leads to the question of, okay, what's the schedule going to look like? And this is what John Oran was led to believe, Mark, that the NFL is going to have a lot of contingencies, but they're going to release, okay, this is our hope, if you know what I mean. Here it is. Here's the schedule. Now, we've got plans B, C, D all in a drawer, but here's our schedule. And apparently the biggest, how late can we start the season plan that's going to be in a drawer, Mark, is they figure they can delay the season 5 to 6 weeks and still have what they consider to be a fairly normal season. Because, they can eliminate bye weeks. All right, they can eliminate everybody's bye week.
Right.
They can eliminate the week in between the championship games and the Super Bowl.
And in essence, eliminate the Pro Bowl.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, that goes with that, by the way. This plan, the biggest part of the contingency of what David is saying, if they have to shorten the breaks, the bye week, and between the championship and the Super Bowl, they'd eliminate the Pro Bowl.
And so the season, a normal NFL season would start the Thursday after Labor Day. This year, Labor Day is as late as it can be. It's the 7th. So the NFL season would normally start Thursday, September 10th. Push it 5 weeks. You eliminate the bye week. You eliminate the week in between the championship game and the Super Bowl. That pushes the Super Bowl back as far as 3 weeks, which still keeps it in February. The Super Bowl committee in Tampa yesterday, when asked, said, we're full steam ahead with, I believe the date marks February 7th. I believe it's February 7th is when the Super Bowl is scheduled in Tampa. But they have also acknowledged, we've kind of, looked at various other dates in February and can we do it, and hotels and what else is going on in the city and all that. So a week from Thursday, a schedule release. There is some pressure building on Goodell to maybe even hold off on a schedule. There's other pressure on Goodell from Mark. You've had to deal with this before. Their teams want to sell tickets. I mean, they do. So they want to be
desperately.
Can you give us a schedule? Because the other thing that what a schedule does, it also keeps people employed. Like right now, teams, some have furloughed, but most are kind of keeping people on the payroll. But if you don't give us a schedule, if you don't give us something for the business people in our office to do, then I don't know if we're going to keep them on the payroll much longer. If we're not going to give us a schedule till mid to late June, then why do I need to have these people on the payroll? And that those discussions are happening behind the scenes.
Happening everywhere. That's just a normal thing going on right now because so many businesses have tried to do the right thing and keep people employed because they have the wherewithal to do so. But now we're closing in on May, and there's no money coming in. So you're absolutely right, David, that the schedule is everything. The only problem in why I would delay is that the schedule is also planning time. I joked around with my wife and said, Tampa plays at Vegas. That'd be a fun little weekend. And I said to her before, when the Steelers go to Vegas, we should go. Well, right now, with the way airlines are, my guess is if there was something in the next 6 months, your ticket could be rather inexpensive.
Yes.
I wouldn't want to make plans for something and then have the plan shifted by 3 weeks. So I would hold off because I do think that maybe I'm naive. I do think the NFL schedule, while it's not going to make the economy start automatically, it's one of the little parts of getting America back running, a confidence thing. If the NFL is playing, hey, we're moving forward. So many people are into that league. I think it's a shot in the arm of just human confidence. And I wouldn't want to see that backed off because then that'll take it away again.
See, and the reason why I would release the schedule is you can play the games. The big question is going to be how many fans are we going to have at them? So I would release the schedule. These games are going to take place, and they're going to take place on these dates. Now, we reserve, and our plan is right now to sell as many tickets as we can and have all of you at the games. Now, if down the road, 4+ months, we need to not have all of you at the games, not have any of you at the games, well, then we'll deal with it accordingly. But if I'm the NFL, and Mark, I think my belief has been backed up by what just took place. I mean, don't you think Goodell is looking at some of the owners who are going, oh, I don't know, and going, hey, you said the same thing with me about the draft. This just went pretty well. This was pretty well received. I mean, John Elway went out of his way to say, you have no idea the pressure Roger Goodell was under with this draft. If this draft did not go well, he didn't finish the sentence, but he implied it would have been the beginning of the end of Roger Goodell as commissioner.
I think you're right. And, you know, we keep hearing Gottlieb's promo before the show, somewhere between 5:30 and 6, where he talks about the disaster that the NBA horse was. And I don't want to compare horse to the draft, but yesterday I ghost hosted Seth's show, and like he was talking about, do you know the undertaking for this draft? They had cameras in every GM's house, in every coach's house. They had 55 players. They had cameras in their houses. This was one of the greater television undertakings of our lifetime.
My understanding was that basically for the teams, they had an IT person per person. So that many teams had 3 IT people that were with them to make sure that if anything went wrong, and I guess there was video that was released yesterday of that for a short time when one of the teams was on the clock, that for 20 or 30 seconds, things got glitchy for them or what have you. And there's video of the IT guy climbing behind the GM's console to work on a wire or something.
Turn it off and turn it back on again?
Probably.
Yeah. Unplug the Ethernet cable and plug it back in. I got $500 right now that says he did one of those two things.
Oh, I may have to look at the video again. All right. But, you know, I mean, who was it who was like outside and, you know, and had an IT guy in his driveway? You know, I'm sitting in a car. You know, I'm here if you need me. So it was a major undertaking. But I would release the schedule, and I don't see, Mark, to me, either you're selling tickets or you're not. So my guess is they're going to release the schedule and they're going to sell tickets.
Yes, they're going to sell tickets.
And then 4 or however many months down the road, they're going to say, well, okay, here's the situation. Here's what we're going to do. Because you know, Mark, in an ideal world, what do sports teams do? Once they get your money,
they keep it.
Yes, and what it will do is they will then say, well, if we have to do games without fans this year, we'll just put this money towards 2021.
We'll give you credit.
Right. We're like the
and you always can get the money back. I will say that.
No,
I mean,
you can.
You just have to get it back.
Keep asking for it. That's all.
At least 3 times.
Yes, that's all. So, but that's what Thursday, May 7th is the date that the schedule is now planning on being released. And I believe that the NFL is going to start close to on time. I really do. I believe that the NFL is just trying to figure out training camps for the Giants and the Jets and for the 2 LA teams and the Niners. They're trying to just talking to them, talking to the governors, talking about training camp dates, and also, okay, Hall of Fame weekend. What are we going to do with this, and when are we going to do it? because this is a big one for the NFL. 20 guys going in. And the Hall of Fame game, Mark, if we have one exhibition game that's
it's
played
the Hall
this
of Fame
year,
game. Yes.
It's going to be the Cowboys against the Steelers in Canton. So I actually think that's probably as much on their mind as everything else.
And I wouldn't be surprised one single bit to see the induction be Labor Day weekend.
Ooh, I like it.
This is the Cowboys and the Steelers. They each have significant players going in.
I like it. You know what would be a really good thing for the NFL to do? And you're going to mock me.
I haven't mocked you in a long time.
I know that, but trust me, when I throw something like this out there,
I'm in the mood for a good mock.
Right,
not going to lie to you.
But if you're the NFL, I mean, let's face it, a lot of us are hurting right now. All right, this would be the year. If you're hell-bent on having some sort of preseason, this would be the year to not charge for those games. This would be the one year, if you're the NFL, in which you just say, listen, one, we don't know if these games are even going to take place. But two, if they do, your tickets are freebies.
Yeah, we're not going to have fans for the preseason, is what you do. That's how you do it. And it's your way, because we're going to add the game next year, it's your way to start eliminating a preseason game from the schedule. Maybe you do one neutral site game, getting out to some other areas that people can see, one home, one away, one neutral, and then start your season.
So something like that, in which the NFL is saying to you, hey, we're going to take less money out of your pocket this year. We understand a little of what's going on.
Southwest Floridians, David, far more concerned with pizza rolls and Pop-Tarts than they are with going to the beach. Voting much like a Republican primary this year for the presidential election. Not a lot of people showing up. They already know who their guy is.
Right.
But we did put a question out there. The beach is open in Charlotte County earlier this week. If the beaches in Lee and Collier are open for this weekend, will you go? Right now, most of you saying no.
Interesting.
For a few more, you say no than yes. Go to that Mark Miller. After this break, go to the David Moulton, because I think after that type of pressure, he will retweet it. Miller and Moulton, Fox Sports Radio, streaming at foxsportsfm.com, and you are looking live on YouTube and Twitch TV.
This is The Herd with Colin Cowherd.
I feel like Tom right now feels supported. All the boxes are being checked that weren't checked in Tampa, including, I bet you Jason Light, the general manager, talked to Tom. They had an hour phone call and said, listen, we need a right tackle. That's going to be our first pick. You think Belichick's telling Tom what his first pick's going to be? No.
Colin Cowherd. Weekdays at noon on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio and foxsportsfm.com.
Gotta go to Galliana, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram.
Hey,
Galliana,
are
Kia,
you guys doing tropical smoothie today as the first 30 callers?
Yeah.
Dealer to door delivery. Plus,
they just gave me a new number. Just want to double check if you guys have the same number. 239-362-0574.
Yes, a new Kia for $0 down, $149 per month.
0574.
Grand Cherokee Limited lease.
Yes.
$0
Let me look
down,
that up.
$269 per month. That's right. Jeep Grand Cherokee Limited, $0 down, $269 per month. Plus, Galliana gives you interest-free financing up to 84 months. No payments for up to 120 days. And prepaid gas for a year. Our parts, service, and body shop are open to serve you at Galliana Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, Galliana Kia, and Alfa Romeo Maserati of Fort Myers. Call 239-481-2600. GallianaCars.com. 42-month lease on Jeep, 36 months Kia, 10,000 miles per year, 0 due at signing, plus first month tax, tag, title, doc, and dealer fee, 0 security deposit with lender approval.
These are unprecedented times, so now Gulf Shore Life magazine is making an unprecedented offer. For a limited time, subscribe to Gulf Shore Life for just $12 for an entire year. That's 12 issues of the stories that will inspire you to stay Gulf Shore strong. It's our way of saying
I have a
thank you
completely
for
different
supporting
number.
local
I have
journalism.
815-0574.
8501 498-8501.
They just gave me this number here. It's
There will be parties against
239. Want me to text it to you?
Yes.
There'll be parades and sporting events.
It's not a
and
person,
concerts.
Mark. It's a place
To
of
help our
business.
communities when they come back together, respond to the 2020 census now. Spend a few minutes online today to impact the next 10 years of healthcare, infrastructure, and education. Respond online today to make America's tomorrow brighter. Shape your future. Start here at 2020census.gov. Paid for by U.S. Census Bureau.
I'm a busy person. Catch the show anytime. Check out MillerandMoulton.com and subscribe to daily podcasts.
You own a home with a tile or shingle roof? You live between Port Charlotte and Marco Island? Hello, I'm Jimmy Williamson with Williamson Brothers Roofing. If you answered yes to either question, it's very likely your roof suffered damage from Hurricane Irma that's not visible from the ground, and you may very well be entitled to a new roof for little or no money out of pocket. But you only have a 3-year window to make a claim, and time is running out. If you have a tile or shingle roof and live between Port Charlotte and Marco
volume
Island,
keeps going up and down during the breaks?
239-283-2013.
How come it's not in my headsets?
Interesting, it is in mine.
Can benefit you in the form of a new roof. Williamson Brothers Roofing, we deal with the insurance carrier for you. Call us at 239-283-2013. Again, time is running out. Call us at 239-283-2013. Williamson Brothers Roofing specializes in the claims process. We have experts standing by. We get claims approved. 239-283.
Got a Marine willing to cut your hair, David.
Pool need a checkup? Call the doctor, the Pool Doctor.
Hi, Dr. Mark here. LED color-changing pool lights can create an after-dark.
I've got a little something here.
Pick your color or select one of the light shows. You can see how dramatic it really is on our website. We're a family company, and for over 40 years, we've been doing business right.
The prescription is the Pool Doctor for award-winning pool service, repairs, and unheard of $39 diagnostic calls. That's mypooldoctor.com or 239-574-1133. State certified CPC 057088.
Now back to Miller and Moulton. No. This is Miller and Moulton.
Your life.
"27 minutes past the hour of 7 o'clock. Thanks for being with us. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. Matt Moscona will join us from Baton Rouge at the top of the hour on the Goldberg New and Abraham Law Firm hotline. Pat Kerwin will join us roughly 1 hour from now. We did it yesterday. We're going to do it throughout the week. 30 Say Thanks is what we're calling it. Hoping to get 30 listeners to buy lunch for the healthcare heroes on the front lines of the coronavirus pandemic. And we certainly understand if you're not in a position to do so, even if you want to these days. But for those of you that can and want to, we offer up a daily sponsor that is willing to also provide the lunches. Today's sponsor is Tropical Smoothie Cafe. We will give you their phone number an hour from now, and hoping to deliver at least 30 lunches to the healthcare heroes in our community. We're all in this together. We are Gulf Shore strong.
So, was looking through an article yesterday, and for whatever reason, can't find it during the break, but I had enough of it memorized. It went through the teams who, because of the draft picks in the first round, I think there was 5 5-stars or 7 5-stars that were drafted in the first round, a bunch of 4-stars and a couple of 3s. But going through, and it's not much of a surprise, but who would you guess, which school would you guess that is dominated in having the most 3-star and below turn into NFL draft picks in the first 3 rounds?
3-star and below.
Yes.
In the first 3 rounds. Well, of the power broker schools, I would say Clemson.
Ohio State was far and away the leader.
Interesting.
And they were at 14. But Wisconsin, over the course of time, from 2011 to 2020, has the highest percentage from the standpoint that Ohio State recruits so well. They still get the 4s and the 5s, but they're still coaching up their 3s. Alabama, Georgia, not doing the same thing. Their percentages are much lower. Doesn't mean it means they're great recruiters, and it means that if you're a 3-star, the odds of getting on the field at those schools are not very good.
Correct.
But Wisconsin is really, to me, when I read that, that was a school I had in my head. When I looked at the article, I go, well, I kind of guessed one right there, because the Badgers don't get the 4 and 5 stars, and yet they're putting guys in the league in the top 3 rounds every single year.
Well, Wisconsin, you would think TCU, schools like that.
Boise this year did pretty well, which was, I don't know about a huge surprise, but Boise did really well in the draft on that regard. So I just thought it was interesting to see the schools out there that are getting players to the pros, because that to me would be the difference. Cincinnati, UCF are doing a nice job here of recent years. Those are numbers. Now, for the Cincinnatis and UCFs, they're in pretty good recruiting grounds to get quality ball players that can improve. But you are right on Boise. Boise's done a lot with a little out in Idaho and putting people into the draft on a regular basis at high rounds. TCU, you mentioned, is another that's done pretty well. But it is interesting. If you're at Alabama, if you're at Georgia, you have a tough time just getting on the field if you're a 3-star.
Yeah. Yeah, you have a tough time of them offering you a scholarship. Yeah, they're like, we could do better. Thanks. Appreciate it.
So 6 were consent of this year's draft. Of the 32 guys selected in the first round, 6 were 5 stars. 14 were 4 stars. 11 were 3 stars.
Interesting. Who was the one that was not even a 3-star? Because 6, 14, and 11 gets us to 31.
Right. Brandon Ayuk from the Niners. Unranked high school player, 3-star JUCO transfer.
I'll give you another stat that I stumbled upon. Cole Kubelik sent this out on Twitter yesterday. Career touchdown passes to first-round picks. And so Peyton Manning with 293. Translation, he had some pretty good receivers to throw to.
Well, was Harrison a first-round pick?
Yep.
Wayne a first-round pick?
Yep.
Okay.
Brett Favre threw 127 touchdown passes to first-round draft picks.
Right.
Brady, 105. Breeze, 104.
Of the 105, how many were to Moss?
Well, the 1 year, like 25.
Right. That's what I mean.
But, so, Roethlisberger, by the way, 69 touchdown passes to first-round draft picks. Marino, you want some perspective, 84 touchdown passes to first-round draft picks. Phillip Rivers, only 35. Which is interesting. Talk about talent around quarterbacks. Aaron Rodgers, career touchdown passes to first-round draft picks. 1. 1. He threw a touchdown pass this year to Mercedes Lewis, who was a former first-round pick, I think, of the Jags, right?
Yes.
Okay. That's the only touchdown pass Aaron Rodgers has thrown in his career. Remember, he's been the full-time quarterback in Green Bay since 2008. 15 years in the league, 12 as an everyday starter. One of his touchdown passes is to a first-round draft pick.
It doesn't make, it makes a lot of sense right now, because we know that the first skilled guy they've taken since Aaron Rodgers was this year.
Right.
And it was a quarterback.
And, obviously just enhancing the point of, maybe they haven't done all they could in terms of putting talent around him to go a little further. And it's not like the Packers haven't had success in the last 10 years. They got 2 and won a Super Bowl, and I think they've been to 3 other NFC championship games. But that stat anyway, giving you the impression that, some of the other really good or great quarterbacks had a little bit better personnel to throw to. That stat's pretty telling. Peyton Manning, 293 touchdowns to first-round draft picks. Aaron Rodgers, 1. Hell, Mark, let's just go Favre, 127. Aaron Rodgers, 1. And yes, Favre played 3 years outside of a Packers uniform, but how many of the 127 were in Minnesota and or with the Jets?
Probably a couple in Minnesota. I don't think there were any with the Jets. Memory serves me right. But I do laugh how I thought Reggie Wayne was a first-round pick. These are things that I lose pretty quickly in my head because I don't care, to be brutally honest. I just, that's not something I worry about. And I'm like, well, I started thinking when you started with Peyton Manning. But what it does to people when you say something like that, this is where the sports fan, this is why sports will always survive, David. Miller and Moulton fan on Twitch says, yes, Reggie Wayne was a first-rounder. The Eagles passed on him to draft first-down Freddie Mitchell. That hasn't stung him at all. Hasn't bothered him a bit for 20-plus years.
He's doing fine with that.
Yeah, he's comfortable with that draft pick.
Fine. Remember, Dallas Clark was also a first-round draft pick for Peyton. So Harrison, Wayne, and Dallas Clark.
Was Edge?
Yes, of course.
I mean, so he caught a few touchdowns.
Yeah, 4th overall.
Right. So, I mean.
Went ahead of Ricky Williams. And what was that? Was that the 2000 draft?
So, I mean, No, it was.
Yeah,
but it's really,
2000.
but it's amazing when you say Manning because we all can quickly go through the guys.
99 draft, my bad.
I let you work that out among yourself. I was just talking.
Don't
worry.
You do a show. I'll work through that stuff.
Yeah, you got it. Pencil was in the mouth. Gears were churning. You got it. We're back.
Yep. There you go. 479-5551.
Beat me to it.
479-5551. The Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line.
Are you current with The Last Dance? Did you watch them both Sunday?
No, I taped them. I watched them yesterday morning.
All right. I have not yet. We watched number 2 last night because the wife's all in.
Okay.
And so I'm a couple behind. So and you're not going to spoil anything. We know what it is, but it was fun. And you guys people talked about this was the we've talked about it several times, the 2 games against the Celtics. I just watching that last night, and it's just scary.
Yeah, he was pretty good.
It's just scary.
Yeah, he's pretty good. If you missed it, episodes 3 and 4. Episode 3 is basically the Rodman episode, and episode 4 has a lot to do with Phil and just how he managed the team and the personalities. It also really got into the Bulls-Pistons situation. There are many, especially in Detroit, who are unhappy with how the Pistons are being depicted.
Right. That's why I'm curious, and I haven't seen it, but that's what I've seen on Twitter for a couple of days, that, boy, are they honked off.
Yes. They feel as if, listen, if you want to bash the Pistons for walking off with 7 seconds left in Game 4 of that conference finals when they were getting swept, that's fine. But you need to tell the whole story. And this was addressed in the Bad Boys 30 for 30 documentary, in which they showed, hey, the Celtics walked off too. Now, there may have been an extenuating circumstance in that. There were a few seconds left, Adrian Dantley shooting a free throw, and some fans had rushed out onto the court. They thought the game was over. And so, did the Celtics leave, because they were just, screw them, we're leaving, okay? Or were they sent off because, because remember, that was the last game, I think, it was the last season that the Pistons, I believe, played in, the Silverdome there. I think they went to the Palace in Auburn Hills the next year when they won their first title. And so, but anyway, that was addressed in the 30 for 30 Pistons documentary. This obviously from a Bulls point of view, and the hatred that the Bulls had and still have for the Pistons is very evident in The Last Dance. I mean, even Horace Grant, God, I hate those guys. MJ, I hate those guys today.
I love it. And I'll watch it. And first off, it's a Bulls documentary. So Detroit, get over yourself. And this is a little bit of the shirt that Quinn's kid was wearing during the draft, the Detroit versus everybody. This is the mentality of the Michigander. It is us against the world. You look down upon us in Detroit, and we all kind of look to Detroit. That's where our sports teams are. And if you stay there, you're even worse. So I get how angry they are, but I guess you're the Pistons, and they're Michael Jordan and the Bulls. I'm not sure. Your back-to-back was nice. They did win 6.
Yeah,
so take a breath.
But this does go back to that those Pistons teams, and Mark, and you love those teams. And you
loved them, still do.
And I think it is fair to say those Pistons teams have not been held in as high a regard as they should have. That first off, I believe they went to 5 straight conference finals. Number 1. 2, they went to 3 straight NBA finals. 3, for those that hate Isaiah Thomas, it does need to be pointed out that Isaiah and those Pistons teams beat Larry and the Celtics, Magic and the Lakers, Michael and the Bulls. All right. And they beat them when they were still considered in their primes. They did. They ended the Celtics dynasty. All right. They beat the Lakers in the finals, and they were the ones that kept Michael and the Bulls at bay. They played 4 times in the playoffs, I believe 4 years in a row. Pistons won 3 of the 4 series. And I do think historically, the Celtics were better. The Lakers as a whole were better. The Bulls as a whole for what they did were better. But I do think it is fair to say those Pistons teams didn't get it then and have not in the 30 years since gotten their due as for how great they were.
They were great, David.
Great.
It's the name. It's the Bad Boys. It's that name, because even when John saw that document, that was so fun to watch. People loved how vicious they were, and they also emphasized in that 30 for 30 the bad boy image of Mahorn and Rodman. But it was a really good basketball team. It was a really deep basketball team. Bill Laimbeer, for the a-hole that he was a great perimeter shooter for a big man. A great perimeter shooter. Shot 90% from the line. Joe Dumars was a terrific defender. John Sally came off the bench. I mean, they were deep. Vinnie Johnson was a really good team. And you're right. That's the other part of this. They were taking on 3 of the most iconic teams in basketball history. Larry and the Celtics. I mean, even he said in that documentary, that team that whooped up on Michael is the best team he ever played on. Then they went and beat the Showtime Lakers. Nobody was rooting for Detroit when they were playing the Lakers. Then, by the time it ends, MJ's come to his own, and the only reason he can't get to the finals is because the Pistons are holding him back, and they played him so physically in those series. So think about it. It's Magic, Larry, and Michael. There's a reason this team doesn't get the love. They should get the respect, but they don't get some of it because of the bad boy thing.
Well, and what's coming out now is that since this documentary is being perceived by many as this is kind of like the history, that since there's a lot of unseen footage, so that this is the defining history of this dynasty. And there are those in Detroit that are raising their hand going, hey, do you guys want to point out when Michael, before Game 4 in the Eastern Conference Finals, when they were about to sweep the Pistons, when Michael said the Pistons have been bad for basketball? That there are those in Detroit that are like, you guys keep depicting us as the blankety blanks. Hey, it kind of ran both ways here. I mean, that's what you're hearing in the last 48 hours coming out of Detroit, which is kind of like, hey, come on now. A, give us our due, and B, they didn't wear the white hat every day of the week either now. Come on now. I mean, at least be a little fair about this. But it's a Bulls documentary, and I didn't realize this until after, sometime yesterday. I didn't realize that Jordan's has a production company, and it is involved in this. Like, I thought this was an ESPN thing. I did. I thought, and that they asked over a long period of time, and they got everybody to cooperate. I didn't realize that Michael Jordan has a part in this. Well, then obviously, if that's the case, then editorially, okay, I mean, they're putting a lot in it.
It is The Last Dance. It is an 8-part series on Michael Jordan and the Bulls. What the hell did you expect, Detroit? I mean, I'm sorry. And I love those Piston teams. They are my favorite basketball teams of all time, David. But Detroit, get over yourself. It's about the Bulls. What'd you expect? For Michael Jordan to come on and say how much he loved Isaiah Thomas? What the hell did anybody expect?
I think a lot of people were just hoping for a little more balance when it came, because I didn't realize until yesterday. I thought this was entirely an ESPN thing. And apparently it's ESPN, but Jordan is a production company, and then therefore you got to figure there's a little editorial, I don't know, control, but yeah. So that's all. But that's why you've yet to watch it, you will love episodes 3 and 4.
Can't wait. Doing 3 tonight, doing 4 tomorrow. That's put the daughter to bed, and the wife and I go down and watch The Last Dance. It's always good when I can find something that the wife wants to watch with me, even though she's looking at Michael Jordan far differently than I am.
Yes, she is. 6 million people on average have been watching these in the first runs, which are far and away. The Bo Jackson 30 for 30 had been the most watched ESPN documentary, and it was less than 4 million viewers. These 4 Last Dances have all gone right around 6 million viewers. There are 6 more to go. Miller and Moulton. Today was the day when, coming up, Matt Moscona at the top of the hour. We'll talk LSU and the Saints for a few minutes. Pat Kerwin will join us in a little more than a half an hour to talk the rest of the NFL as a whole. Miller and Moulton, thanks for listening. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
This is a special coronavirus update from Wink News.
I'm Therese O'Shea with Wink News. Governor DeSantis is heading to Washington today to meet with President Trump for a closed-door meeting. The governor has not yet revealed recommendations from his state task force, but more details are expected in coming days. Today, Cape Coral is opening several parks with restrictions. You'll have access to parking lots and kayak launches, but sports courts, restrooms, playgrounds, and other areas are still closed. Park rangers and police will be on the lookout for anyone not following CDC guidelines. Fort Myers Beach will also reopen beaches to island residents. Anyone out walking, jogging, or biking will need to prove residency and wear masks. Hotels on the beach will begin taking reservations May 15th. The Lee and Collier County Commissions will discuss reopening public areas this morning. As soon as they make any decisions, we'll let you know with an alert on the Wink News app. For updates on coronavirus, trust Wink News. Facts, not fear.
Receiving. Over. Alexa, play Fox Sports FM on TuneIn.
LeBron has shown his greatness. Kevin Durant's a better player.
Sorry, I don't know that one.
Smart speaker.
Are we cheering for idiots?
Jesus.
What's going on?
The hell?
Like a dumb speaker, am I right?
God,
You're
this
an
is
idiot.
weird.
Nice job. Get Southwest Florida sports talk delivered to your speaker. This is easy. Just say, Alexa,
hello.
Play Fox Sports FM on TuneIn.
Finally, something worthwhile.
I didn't think it was going to be this easy. We are Fox. We've got our good friend
Like
Tim
while
Meister,
you were
owner of
just
Four
away,
Masters in
the
Naples,
volume
We're
went
talking about the
dramatically
huge
up
selection
and
great
dramatically
pricing on
down
Cortec flooring.
on
Tim,
3
tell
separate
us what's new
occasions.
at the store.
Sorry.
No. It's nobody's.
Is it going over Twitch that way, anybody?
Yes, that's what people, a couple of the viewers on Twitch have also indicated that, especially during the commercial breaks, that the volume levels go up and
it's
they
not
go
just the
down.
many colors of
It's
Cortec
weird.
that you have. You also
I don't
have
get it
during
because
products as
the
well.
commercials, that level never, ever changes.
Well, right. Everywhere. It doesn't change where you are. It doesn't change where Giro is. So that's interesting.
Today in 1989, John Bon Jovi married his high school sweetheart at the Graceland Wedding Chapel in Vegas.
If you haven't been to the Four Meisters, you really owe it to yourself to visit
I'm guessing
the store.
she gave him an ultimatum.
6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go online, floormeisters.com.
Said, hey, dude,
That's
you got a good run here.
The answer is...
You're listening to the Doug Gottlieb Show.
NBA horse, which we said as soon as the idea came out, that's a bad idea. In the scale of bad ideas, right, from Jay Williams, hey, let's put all the NBA players on 2 cruise ships, that's the worst possible idea. NBA horse was not quite that bad, but in that discussion. It was worse. It was worse. Some guys didn't have good enough cell phones. Some guys had rinky-dinky hoops where they had acrylic backboards. There's a WNBA player I couldn't have picked out of a lineup. She's going against Mike
It's the
Conley,
Zucker's
who's got this
birthday,
beautiful
David.
home gym. So now you're like, okay, Conley's not relatable.
Ron Zook?
And
Yeah, your buddy.
WNBA seems like a rec league in comparison.
Only
to the NBA.
Florida head
Oh,
coach to ever
so
appear on
bad.
this show.
And you forgot that.
Correct.
Also got fired right after coming on the show.
Right, he came on a Tuesday, got fired that Saturday.
Yep.
On Southwest Florida's Fox
Boy, he
Sports
lost at
Radio
Mississippi
and
State, Mark.
FoxSportsFM.com.
There will be parties.
it really had
events,
nothing to do with the interview.
and family gatherings. There'll be
Can't
parades
lose to
and
Mississippi
sporting
State.
events and concerts to help our communities when they come back together.
Especially
Respond to the
then.
2020 census now.
I sent John a email yesterday. Nicholas Lindstrom wrote a book. I don't know if he's doing a tour, but these parts I figured it wouldn't be bad to get him on.
America's tomorrow brighter. Shape
Well,
your future.
these times
Start
especially.
here at
Right.
2020census.gov. Paid for by U.S. Census Bureau.
Now back to Miller and Moulton. No. This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
9 minutes before 8 o'clock. Thanks for being with us. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming at foxsportsfm.com, which is also where you can go for our binge TV bracket contest, which is down to the final four. Brought to you by Brooks Gourmet Burgers, Jimmy P's Chard, France Eye Care, and Kobe Cooling. Let's see. So The Sopranos, Seinfeld, Breaking Bad, Game of Thrones, Mark, are most binge-worthy shows, final four.
I'm fired up that Seinfeld took that bracket from The Walking Dead because that was the weakest one. That was far and away Gonzaga. It
Of
did.
those four, by the way, what would be your vote? Sopranos,
Sopranos.
Seinfeld, Breaking Bad, Game of
Sopranos. Sopranos.
I'm with you.
Guy I played golf with on Saturday just like started watching it. He'd never watched it, and during this, I go, "Where are you?" He goes, "Season 6, episode 2." I'm like, and he's and it's so fun to listen to someone talk about it while they're in it and going through episodes because it's been years for most of us, and
sure
that has just been fun watching. I had a blast just hearing him talk about it. And it's like, man, maybe I need to go rewatch that again. But right now, it is time for
Miller and Moulton's Today Was the Day When, giving you the history of today's date so you're a beacon of useless knowledge around the office.
Useless, but a lot of fun to talk about.
This is Today Was the Day When, Fox Sports Radio and foxsportsfm.com.
All right. We go to 1930 today when the first organized baseball game at night was played in Independence, Kansas. No idea who played and no idea what the score was, but it was organized. 1934, the Tigers' Goose Goslin grounds into 4 straight double plays. That's a bad day.
Boy, is it ever.
I mean, that's really a bad day. 37 was the first commercial flight across the Pacific, operated by Pan Am. 1961, Warren Spahn pitches his second no-hitter at the age of 41, beating the San Francisco Giants 1-0. 66, the 20th NBA championship won by the Celtics. They beat the Lakers. Who else? 4-3. Today,
that was the end of their they won 2 more titles, but that was the end of that was like 7 or 8 in a row that they had won there because the Philadelphia with Wilt wins it in 67.
In 67, today was the day Muhammad Ali refuses induction into the Army and was stripped of his boxing title. Today in 1973, Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon would go to number 1 on the albums chart. It would stay on the top of the chart for 1 week, but would go on to have over 880 weeks on the Billboard album charts. Weeks, not days.
Right.
Weeks.
Correct.
1985, 2 things. Fernando Valenzuela sets the record of 41 scoreless innings to start a season, and Billy Martin is named the New York Yankee manager for the 4th time.
Didn't he do it 5? What year was this?
85. Was there? I thought this was it. You're going to have to check.
I think you're right. Yeah, he didn't get – and, he did a great job. He took over for Yogi, and it's why Yogi, 14 games in the season, got fired, didn't talk to Steinbrenner for 13 years. Billy, they won 97 games that year. They lost out on the second to last day of the season for going to the playoffs, and he still got fired.
Well, there you have it. 87, the NBA announced the expansion franchises to Charlotte and Miami for 88 and Minneapolis and Orlando for 89. Also today in 87, with the first pick of the draft, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers select University of Miami quarterback Vinny Testaverde. Today in 93, hockey fans will remember the Islanders rout the Caps 4-1 in the playoffs, but that wasn't what happened. It was after Pierre Turgeon scored when Dale Hunter threw what was one of the cheapest shots ever given. Well after the goal came and just ran him into the boards. Jamarcus Russell taken first overall today by the Raiders in 07. Cam taken first overall today in 11 by Carolina. And David's favorite, Jared Goff, taken today in 2016 by the LA Rams. If you were born today, you share your birthday with Jay Leno, 70 years old today. Ron Zook, David's favorite Florida coach, is 66, and he's only David's favorite coach because he's the only one who has ever appeared with either of us on the show. He was fired 6 days after appearing with David Moulton.
Yeah, we had him on a Tuesday. He got fired Saturday walking off the field in Starkville. That's what happened back in the day if you lose to Mississippi State.
That's right. Hal Sutton, 62. Barry Larkin, born today in 1964. The one and only John Daly is 54 years old. Did you have the over or did you have the under? Former Dolphin and Chief kicker Pete Stoyanovich is 53. Nicholas Lindstrom turns 50 today. And this could have been the poll question because Penelope Cruz is 46 and Jessica Alba is 39. And I just asked the simple question to all of you, A or B? And that is, today was the day when, on this 28th day of April.
And while you're talking Penelope Cruz and Jessica Alba, I am focused on Warren Spahn, who Mark won 363 games and had 13 20-win seasons, and he missed 3 years for World War II when he was 22, 23, and 24 years of age. Could have won 400 games if not for World War II.
Galliana Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, Galliana Kia, and Alfa Romeo Maserati of Fort Myers are taking every precaution to keep you and your family safe with dealer-to-door delivery. Plus, we're making deals we've never made before on over 1,500 new and pre-owned vehicles. Sleek, sophisticated Kia Forte lease, 0 down, $149 per month. Yes, a new Kia for 0 down, $149 per month. Loaded, luxurious Grand Cherokee Limited lease, 0 down, $269 per month. That's right, Jeep Grand Cherokee Limited, 0 down, $269 per month. Plus, Galliana gives you interest-free financing up to 84 months, no payments for up to 120 days, and prepaid gas for a year. Our parts, service, and body shop are open to serve you at Galliana Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, Galliana Kia, and Alfa Romeo Maserati of Fort Myers. Call 239-481-2600, GallianaCars.com. 42-month lease on Jeep, 36 months Kia, 10,000 miles per year, 0 due at signing, plus first month tax, tag, title, doc, and dealer fee, 0 security deposit with lender approval.
I'm calling your guess, or are you guys doing it?
We're going to do it.
We missed the crack of the bat, the banging of trash cans. We missed the ducks.
Slams it home for 2.
The left turns.
Look how close it is for the lead.
The hockey horns. The kiss cans, the wave, the high fives. We miss it all.
We just got to wait this out and see how it goes.
But just because we miss it doesn't mean we can't talk about it.
We'll get through it. The USA needs it.
On Fox Sports Radio.
These are unprecedented times. So now, Gulf Shore Life magazine is making an unprecedented offer. For a limited time, subscribe to Gulf Shore Life for just $12 for an entire year. That's 12 issues of the stories that will inspire you to stay Gulf Shore strong. It's our way of saysaying thank you for supporting local journalism. Call
Mark?
now, 498-8501.
Take it easy.
498-8501.
Just reminding you got to call
in the
back.
break room and target practice in the urinals. WFSX AM from the Rock to downtown Fort Myers. We are Fox Sports. Here's what's trending now. Brought to you by the Center for Men's Health. C4MH.com.
Hello, Matt.
Good morning, Matt. Mark Miller and David Moulton. How are you?
Hey, guys. Doing well, man. How are y'all?
Oh, doing this Groundhog's Day thing.
I know. Are y'all your homes?
Yeah, that's why I'm calling you. It's just easier.
Oh,
I've got David on Ring Central because we do this Twitch and YouTube crap, and then it's just easier for me to dial out.
I got you, man. I guess I'm fortunate, man. I'm still going to the studio every day, so we just completely locked down our building, and only a few on-air people can go up. So that's given me at least some sense of like normalcy, right, to be able to keep some routine. So,
yeah. Well, we've been doing it. My house has been our studio for 3 years, so the only difference now is David does it from his house.
There's only one way to wake up in the morning.
Thanks again, Matt. Always appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure, man.
Yep, that's it. Miller?
This could end the bro hug. That would be great for you because there is nobody worse at the bro hug than one David Moulton.
And Moulton.
I used to be. 2019, I found my bro hug group.
Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
All guests appear on the Goldberg Noon Abraham hotline. Goldberg-law.com.
Oh, I like
It's up to you now. It's up to you.
I like it.
Now, the best local sports show this town has ever heard. Here's Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
Third and final hour of Miller and Moulton on this final Tuesday of April in 2020. Thanks so much for being with us. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming at foxsportsfm.com and broadcasting live once again on the Miller and Moulton Twitch and YouTube channels. Pat Kerwin to join us coming up in roughly 25 minutes. It's a pleasure to welcome back Matt Moscona. Afternoons, ESPN Radio in both New Orleans and Baton Rouge. You can follow Matt on Twitter at, appropriately enough, Matt Moscona. Matt, first off, how are you and your family doing during these times? And thanks for joining us.
Hey, guys. Good morning. Yeah, we're doing good, kind of like everybody else right now. Just patiently waiting, hoping to get back to normal as soon as we can.
Well, when you watched the draft, did you kind of after Friday go, if LSU wouldn't have won the national title, they would have really screwed this up? I mean, because this seemed like this was just an LSU party over the course of a couple of days.
It's been an LSU party for a few months now, especially down here. But, yeah, the draft was a lot of fun. And look, LSU's had drafts like that. Okay, not quite like that, where they had 14 guys go and they tied the record for the most guys in one draft from one school. But they've had big drafts before. I mean, 2013 was a monster draft for them, and they've had years where they've had, 2007 they had 4 first-round draft picks, and they had the year where they had Leonard Fournette and Jamal Adams both go in the top 6 picks of the draft, whatever it was. So they've had really strong drafts when you've recruited players and had the type of talent that LSU has. But when it's top to bottom throughout the draft, including the first overall pick, which was quarterback, which bookended a year where you won a national title, Heisman, and now the draft. It just, they've checked every box, and I'm sure you all might find the argument interesting, but you have the legitimate conversation now from every angle if this is the greatest college football team ever, and it's in that conversation with 01 Miami and 04 USC and 95 Nebraska, and you go back to some of the Bama teams that get mentioned, Nebraska teams in the 70s. But this team checks every box now, and I think it's only as these guys go and have their pro careers, it's only going to become more of an endorsement for the legacy that they leave.
All right, quickly before we move on to other things, is the cupboard at all bare for next year, though? Like Alabama had 4 first-round picks. I saw a projection of the 2021 first round in which they were going to have 7. So I'm just curious as to, does LSU need 15 minutes to regroup here, or are they okay?
Well, in the SEC, you don't get 15 minutes to regroup. You better be ready to roll. So I would say it's a really interesting conversation because if you roll through everything LSU lost, if you just want to put a number to it, ESPN Stats and Info has LSU 127 in the country out of 130 as far as returning production. So everybody's gone. I mean, Burrow
Right.
and Clyde and Jefferson and Moss. I mean, everybody. The flip side of it is if I went and ran through the list of what they have returning, you'd go, well, damn, they're going to be really good. Like if you could block out of your mind, which is impossible to do, like everything they lost and just look at everything coming back, you go, that's a really good team. And so that's kind of the standard that Alabama has set, right? Because
Correct.
they get 10 guys that get drafted every year, and they lose coordinators every year, and every year they're right there in the mix of the playoffs. So for LSU, the challenge is getting to that level where you've recruited well enough over a long enough period of time, especially at quarterback, to where you can lose that wave of talent every year, but you're going to be right there in the mix again. And this is going to be the interesting sort of pendulum year for LSU because they've got enough to be really competitive. And if you look at the SEC, guys, I could make a legitimate argument that the best quarterback in the SEC returning is Kellen Mond. Like, it's not a great quarterback year in the SEC, which means it could be a really wide open conference this year.
If we play football, when we play football,
Right.
hopefully we play football. What's the vibe around there when it comes to college football? Because we know that the NFL can play without any fans and be very successful financially. College ball can't. I mean, there's every Saturday in Baton Rouge, that's probably $6-7 million that comes through the door when they play a game times 6 or 7 every year. That's a huge amount of money to an athletic department. What's the vibe right now of what you're hearing, what they're trying to do? A, to get kids back on campus, because that seems to be the most important thing to play football on Saturday. But B, as to how aggressively they want the football season to start on time with fans.
So on time with fans is going to be, I think, the big question. Guys, I don't know if you agree, but I'm firmly of the belief that there's going to be football because there has to be football. I mean, for that very reason. I mean, there was a survey of athletic directors last week that Brett McMurphy did, and 99% of the athletic directors said there's going to be a season because there has to be a season. In a place like LSU, football accounts for 85% of the athletic department's revenue. If you don't have football, you don't have an athletic department. Period. Like that's just all there is to it. So there has to be a season in some way. If it's delayed, if it's spring, whatever. So your timing's interesting though, because calling me today because yesterday afternoon, LSU's interim president did an interview with the Baton Rouge Press Club and announced that they will have students on campus in the fall. So we're starting to see those dominoes fall. Last week, I know Missouri's president said the same thing. Oklahoma State said the same thing. And so if you kind of pay attention around the country, Oregon last evening, their president said the same thing. So in little pockets all over the country, you're seeing university leaders say, yes, our campus is going to be reopened again for in-person instruction in the fall. So that's the first big domino to fall for there to be football. Now, if the campus is still closed throughout the summer, then you can't really have any pre-season workouts or anything of that nature. So maybe that happens early fall and you start the season in October. I think that's plausible. I don't know that I'm convinced they can have a season where you eliminate games because the revenue of the non-conference games is critical. So maybe you just take everything and move it back a month and still have your full 12-game schedule and you just push into February instead of into January. I think that's plausible. I think anything's on the table. But one thing that I'm convinced of is there will be football. There will be football with fans. It just may not start on Labor Day weekend.
Talking LSU and the Saints with Matt Moscona of ESPN in New Orleans and Baton Rouge. First off, Jameis. A, did that get finalized yesterday? And B, your thoughts on him as the number 2 quarterback. I'm not enamored with Taysom Hill. I think that this is a huge smokescreen that Peyton and the Saints have put on Taysom Hill and everybody else. But your thoughts on Jameis as Breeze's number 2 in a Super Bowl or bust year once again for the Saints.
So is it finalized? My understanding is there was something with the contract where if they waited until like 4:00 on Monday, there was some concession in the cap number. So waiting to put pen to paper another day is, I think, why it hasn't been formally announced yet. I love it, by the way. I kind of took a victory lap yesterday. Back in early or late March, about a month ago, I basically did this big, long diatribe on my show why they needed to go sign Jameis Winston after the Bucs cut him. Because we saw the model in New Orleans a year ago with Teddy Bridgewater. Breeze bangs his thumb on Aaron Donald's helmet. He misses 5 games. Thank God you had Teddy Bridgewater. It's why the Saints paid him $7.2 million to be the highest paid backup in football, because it's the best insurance policy you can have. And Jameis Winston, to have a quarterback that started 70 games, one of 8 quarterbacks in the history of football that's thrown for 5,000 yards in a season. He's in his physical prime. He's only 26 years old. He's got, I mean, you all know this, but he's got all the physical ability in the world. And people who are the naysayers, they bring up the crab legs and they bring up the 30 interceptions. Well, I mean, Brett Favre threw 59 more interceptions than any quarterback in the history of the NFL. People sort of revere him. And I ran through a list of, a dozen quarterbacks that had 30-plus interception seasons or 20-plus interception seasons. Some of the all-time greats, Peyton Manning had a 28 interception season. Drew Brees had threw 22 picks in 2010. My point is, I'm not absolving Jameis Winston from some of his knucklehead behavior and decision-making on the field, but there's just no franchise in football that's going to have a backup quarterback that started 70 games, that's led the league in passing, that knows the NFC South, oh, by the way, knows your personnel and the personnel of at least 6 games you're going to play, the 2 against the Panthers, Falcons, and Bucks. Like, this is an absolute no-brainer. I mean, it's anybody that argues to the contrary is so blinded by their distaste for what they perceive the man to be because of some of the off-the-field shenanigans and maturity issues, that they're blinded and can't see how much this makes sense on the field for New Orleans. And one of the reports I saw was that it was going to be at $3.5 million. I mean, it's a dirt cheap, nothing contract. So, man, it makes too much sense to bring in Jameis Winston as Drew Brees' backup.
Hey, we've said for years on this show, if he plays 3 games, can your backup quarterback go 2-1? And
Yeah.
Jameis can. And you look at Pittsburgh a year ago with a competent backup, they probably make the postseason. And if they run into the same thing with Roethlisberger because they lost out to New Orleans on Jameis, we'll see how this works out. The other thing that the Saints did, in our opinion, really well is draft. They are a team that's close. You don't need to bring in 14, 11, 8 guys. You need to bring in guys that can help. They went and got Zach Bond. That's a need. They got Ruiz, who can plug and play right now. And they go out and get what most people think was the second best tight end in the draft. I might have wanted to see a receiver early because you'd love to see some help for Thomas. But at the end of the day, it's tough to look at what the Saints did draft-wise and criticize it very much from my end. How do you see it?
Well, I think it's also – I think the other part that sort of goes on the Saints side is, like, for the last 3 years in the draft, they've been riding a heater. I mean, they've just been exceptional at this. Since they brought Jeff Ireland into that room with Sean Payton and Mickey Loomis, they've been awesome on draft day. And when you're the Saints and you've been to the playoffs and been so close each of the last 3 years, you don't have a ton of holes in your roster. Like, I actually combed through the current roster yesterday, and as best I can tell, there's probably 2 positions, 2 spots on the roster that are wide open. If they want to have a 6th receiver and their last cornerback spot, that's it, really. So to your point about not bringing in 14 guys, they literally just don't have room for a full draft class. If they had drafted 7 guys, they're cutting half the draft class because they just don't have room for them. So I agree. They got aggressive. They traded assets. They moved up to go quality over quantity. I think Zach Bond is an immediate impact guy in the middle of that defense. I'm curious about Troutman, the tight end. That certainly seemed like a big-time value pick, but they did sign Jared Cook a year ago to a big contract. Now, Cook, if they like Troutman enough, Cook could be a contract casualty because they could save $5 million against the cap if they cut Jared Cook. If they're convinced Troutman and Josh Hill, and Sean Payton loves to use multiple tight ends. So if they're convinced Troutman can be their starting tight end and they got Josh Hill and Garrett Griffin behind him, they may cut Jared Cook and save $5 million against the cap. And then Cesar Ruiz, the center that they drafted, they drafted a center last year with their top pick, Eric McCoy out of A&M, and he started all 16 games. So the kind of ear to ground, what I'm hearing is that they're going to leave Ruiz at center and move McCoy to right guard, and Larry Warford's probably done. He's a former Pro Bowl offensive guard, but that's another one where if they cut Larry Warford, they'll save almost $8 million against the cap, and Sean Payton was not happy with Warford a year ago. He was out of shape and didn't play well. So that draft pick was the writing on the wall for Larry Warford. So Saints got younger on the offensive line, probably more talented as well, and upgraded a couple of need spots. I'll be interested to see if they add a receiver somewhere along the line, but they've also – Sean loves his undrafted free agent guys as well. And they got a couple from a year ago that played for him, and Emmanuel Butler and Lil Jordan Humphrey from Texas, who guys who actually got on the field in regular season action. So maybe if in camp, whenever they have camp, one of those guys progresses, that may take away the need for another receiver for another year anyway. But they're primed. I mean, if they stay healthy and do what they're capable of, this is a team we should be talking about in late January and hopefully early February.
Well, no team has won more games over the last 3 regular seasons than the Saints, 37 wins over 3 years. That's over 12 per season. That right guard had a rough time in the playoff game against the Vikings. That is for sure. Very quickly, how close, however, do you feel the Bucs have gotten? I mean, we acknowledge the Saints are the team to beat. Hell, they may be the team to beat in the entire conference. But how close do you feel with the moves that Tampa Bay has made? How close do you feel? If the Saints are a 12 or 13 win team, how do you view the Bucs?
Yeah, Vegas had the Saints pegged at 10.5, and I would go over with the Saints there. And if I'm not mistaken, the Bucs were at 9, which feels about right. If the Bucs were 7-9 a year ago, you bring in Tom Brady, who is going to be a better leader, better decision maker than Jameis was at that spot. Is Tom Brady worth 2 games? I think so. That feels about right. And I think 9-7, it's not going to win you the division, but it's going to get you in the playoffs. Let's remember the expanded playoffs start this year, so you get 7 teams in. I think Tampa's a playoff team. It may be as the 7 seed, but I think they're in. I've always been enamored with the skill Tampa has on offense. It's been turnovers, obviously, and at times, a lackluster defense that seems to have caused Tampa. So I don't think there's any doubt if you add Tom Brady that immediately is worth a game or 2, all else equal. So I'm not sold on the Gronk move actually being impactful at all. I'm curious. I mean, y'all probably tell me. I mean, are they going to part ways with O.J. Howard? I mean, it seems like that's the writing's on the wall there. But I don't know. I think Tampa has plenty of offensive firepower. Can they put it all together to be a real contender this year? We'll see. I'd be skeptical of that, but I would expect Tampa in the expanded playoffs to probably be a 9-7 team and be in the playoffs.
And they could be dangerous by then. I do think all these teams with first-year quarterbacks, first-year coaches, with this offseason, it's going to be very difficult for the Tampas, for so many of these teams, for Washington, for Cleveland, for these teams that have a little bit of expectations to get things going. You keep saying, we started this talking LSU and football, and you're right. Brett McMurphy did that poll with the ADs, and they all think they're going to play football. Do you think they can play college football if the kids aren't on campus?
No, I don't. I think university presidents have said that's something that's got to happen, is the students have to be back on campus, because if your campus is closed and you can't have student athletes on campus going through practices and things of that nature. So, I mean, my understanding is that's a certainty. If campuses aren't open, then
okay. But what if they're delayed to be open? I mean, can we start before? Like, they say, hey, October 1st we're going to start classes. Can we start football anytime before that? We've done it forever. I mean, I went to school at Michigan State where we played 3 football games before anybody was ever in class with the old trimesters that they did. So if they announce October 1 and started playing September 15th, do you guys think that could happen?
I don't. And unless if you have, and my guess is there were summer school classes on campus during that time. The campus was never closed. even if the semester hadn't started, it's not so much if the semester started, the campus is open. So
Right.
I don't think if the campus isn't open to students, how can it be open to student athletes? I guess that's the line of thinking. So but I'm also firmly of the belief that we've already started to see the dominoes, just like when everything shut down, when Adam Silver and the NBA were the first to call it, and then every domino fell, all the conference basketball tournaments, and then all the leagues subsequently pulled the plug. Similarly with this, as you're starting to see university presidents announce their school's going to be open, I think those dominoes are going to fall and all of the schools are going to be open. And let's not forget, we're sitting here in April. So you're talking May, June, July, August. You're talking four more months. I mean, is it plausible to think that over the next 4 months, we're going to get closer to a point where people can be on a college campus? I think so. I mean, I know y'all have seen pictures of beaches on each coast, and as soon as things have been opened up, people flock to them. So I think 4 months from now, we'll obviously be in a much better spot than we are today. And I do think college campuses are going to be open. I think we're going to have college football in the fall.
Matt, we agree, and we're very thankful of your time and your insight. Hope all continues to stay well for you and your family, and hopefully we'll talk again soon.
Thanks so much, guys. Anytime.
Matt Moscona, afternoons, ESPN Radio in New Orleans and Baton Rouge. You can follow Matt on Twitter at Matt Moscona, Moscona. Miller and Moulton. Pat Kerwin will be joining us coming up in a moment. A reminder, now is the time, if you would like, to call on in to our daily sponsor, which on this day is Tropical Smoothie Cafe. If you want to order a lunch for a hospital worker, those on the front lines, 362-0574 is the number, 362-0574. You can call Tropical Smoothie Cafe, hoping to have 30 lunches delivered to the healthcare heroes in our community. 362-0574. That will get it done.
An underrated food joint. Because you think tropical smoothie, you think, hey, I'm just going to get myself a smoothie there.
Right.
Hence the name.
Right.
But
see what they did there.
Right. But their sandwiches are pretty darn good. It's a good little sandwich there.
There you go. So maybe a sandwich and a smoothie for a hospital worker near you.
There you have it, David.
362-0574. Miller and Moulton. Pat Kerwin, his thoughts on the draft and life and the pursuit of happiness as the NFL now shuts down for the next 3 months. Or does it? That's why we have Pat on next on Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
We made it through March Sadness, but we're going to answer the question everyone is asking. What TV show is most binge-worthy? The Sopranos? Game of Thrones? Seinfeld? Let your sheltered voice be heard. Fill out the Miller and Moulton binge-worthy bracket at foxsportsfm.com and watch if your show advances. All thanks to France Eye Care, Jimmy P's Chard, Brooks Gourmet Burgers, Kobe Cooling, and your sports. Even though there are no sports station, Fox Sports Radio.
Guys, the physicians and staff at Center for Men's Health want you to know that C4MH.com is open and will remain open through this entire ordeal. C4MH.com has taken a multitude of steps to make their offices the safest places they can be. And here's a few examples that make that statement a fact. C4MH.com treats all offices with Microban 24, the most advanced antivirus disinfectant available today. And unlike any other disinfectant, Microban 24 kills viruses for 24 hours after application, touch after touch. The staff wears level 1 procedure masks, and you can have one too. They monitor their temperatures, and soon they'll do the same for you when you walk in the door. All pens and clipboards are antimicrobial, and when you walk in, you will use hand
antimicrobial might be my least favorite word on the planet today. I think that's my number one least favorite word.
What's that?
I can't even say it now. But microbial. Everything that we're making up to put in a commercial right now to make people say that they are safer at this store than that store. I mean, we're disinfecting car carpets because we're going to give you a,
and you may very well be entitled
to a new roof. I think it's a bunch of hooey. to quote the late great Colonel Potter.
And time is running out. You have a tile or shingle
microbial.
Yes, I don't like microbial. I don't like that word at all. Not even the fact that I can't pronounce it half the time, but I still don't like the word.
That can benefit you in the form of a new roof. Williamson Brothers Roofing.
Let me know when we're at a minute, Jiro, please.
Call us at 239-283-2013.
Thank you.
Again, time is running out. Call us at 239-283-2013. Williamson Brothers Roofing specializes in the claims process. We have experts standing by. We get claims approved. 239-283-2013.
103.3 North.
What do you want me to do?
Pool need a checkup? Call the doctor.
1
the
minute.
Pool Doctor.
Hi, Dr. Mark here. LED color-changing pool
Word of
lights
the day.
can create an after-dark backyard oasis. Pick your color or select one of the light shows. You can see how dramatic it really is on our website. We're a family company, and for over 40 years, we've been doing business right.
The prescription is the Pool Doctor for award-winning pool
Good morning.
service, repairs, and unheard of $39
Jesus, Pat, I can't even hear you.
calls. That's mypooldoctor.com or 239-574-1133. State certified CPC is
You there, Pat?
088.
There will be parties again soon, and family gatherings.
Hello, Pat.
There'll be parades and sporting events.
Pat, you there?
And concerts. To help our community
Can you hear us?
come back together, respond to the 2020 census now.
Pat, let me call you right
Spend
back.
a few minutes online today to impact the next 10 years of healthcare, infrastructure, and education. Respond online today to make America's tomorrow brighter. Shape your future. Start here at 2020census.gov. Paid for by U.S. Census Bureau.
Now back to Miller and Moulton.
All right, now we're getting somewhere.
No. This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
26 minutes past the hour. Heading down the home stretch of Miller and Moulton on this final Tuesday of the month of April. Thanks so much for being with us. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming at foxsportsfm.com, and broadcasting live once again on the Miller and Moulton Twitch and YouTube channels. Sign up. They are free, and Twitch very interactive, exclusive content provided on both. So we encourage you to sign up for the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch TV channels. 479-5551 is how you can chime in via the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line, 479-5551. Just want to throw this in there, Mark. I didn't get to this earlier in the show. Ross Chastain, it looks as if, is not going to get Ryan Larson's ride, at least not for the rest of this year. They announced yesterday Matt Kenseth will come out of retirement, and he will finish the season in the Ryan Larson ride. And also Ryan Newman has said that he is ready. Whenever there is racing again, he'll hop back in his car. So Ross will be out of Newman's car and not jumping into Larson's car. He'll have to go back to his car, if you will, to finish out the NASCAR season. And with that, we welcome in Pat Kerwin of CBS Sports, and also Moving the Chains weekday afternoons on NFL Radio. Just got done broadcasting his 21st consecutive NFL draft. How was it for you, all of you in different locations?
It worked out well. You know, there were some glitches. We had a different producer basically every day, and everyone has their own style of how to massage the whole thing. And we added Rick Neuheisel on the third day. So you had a lot of people chiming in but mostly it worked fine because the draft went off without any technical hitches. We were prepared for a half-hour delay somewhere along the line that if it went down, what would we do? And we never had to employ that. So on that level, really, it worked out fine.
Well, if I work drafts for the rest of my life, I'll come close to getting to working half as many as you after doing that. And David and I had a lot of fun. But, Pat, one of the teams, and I'm sure you've already talked to them, and we can go after the Packers or the Bears, but Seattle was the team that in every round, as David said during our coverage, groupthink is not part of what the Seattle Seahawks do. There was not a pick that was anywhere near where people thought guys were supposed to go. So just kind of break down what the Seahawks did, what Pete Carroll and his group are thinking about, because they do the draft differently.
They do, and they always have. They were booed when they took Frank Clark. They were booed when they took Bruce Irvin. People sat in amazement about those, and Russell Wilson was a third-round pick, so no one really cared at the time. But their first-round picks have been fairly controversial. And just talking to Pete about it, and really Gil Brandt's opinion first, Gil thought Brooks was a really good player, and I know that they're looking for a starting linebacker, and they felt this guy could come in and be either the Sam or the Will, and in time, when Bobby retires, move in and be the Mike. So that's what they like about him. But no one will like that pick because no one saw him as a first rounder. Almost all of us saw him as a second rounder. So Pete could care less about that. The Darrell Taylor one is interesting. Pete made it clear that we got him in here before everything got shut down. He said, if I had not brought him in, maybe I wouldn't have done it. But he has a lot of talent, but he's got some issues, and he's kind of one of those guys that people shied away from for his maybe bizarre behaviors at time, or maybe hard to coach kind of reputation that he had. But that's Pete. He loves those guys. He always feels like he can sell into them. Here's your chance to clean that up. And he really did that with Bruce Irvin, and he certainly did with Frank Clark. So he's not afraid of it. He's looking for guys that can rush the passer, that have talent. When you get around Pete as much as I have, those things are never barriers to him. If he gets a good feel for the guy during the interview, he will ignore everyone else's recommendations to stay away. He kind of likes these challenges, as does Andy Reid, by the way. If you study Andy Reid, you'll see that he's taken a lot of risk players himself. He doesn't get burned all the time. I mean, Kareem Hunt was a burn job, but most times he's going to take them just like Pete does, and those guys feel like they have something to offer. The rest of the draft, Lewis will plug in as one of those kind of power run guards that he's always looking for. I don't know where Colby Parkinson will end up. Colby Parkinson is going to be the recipient of Russell Wilson scrambling and finding him and hitting him. They've been doing that with different tight ends for a long time. DJ Dallas, well, would it be a Seattle draft without a running back? And he just puts another one in the stable. So he needs 4. Last year he got everyone hurt. He had to go get Marshawn out of retirement. I don't think he really wants to keep having to do that. So that's that stuff. The rest of it, I don't know if they'll make it. He's very interested in experimenting with guys and then dropping them onto the practice squad if they don't make it right away. Alton Robinson, another thing we always track with Seattle is they like the Senior Bowl. That's their chance to see guys live. And with all the things that got canceled, the Senior Bowl was Alton Robinson's opportunity. He didn't do much all week, I thought, but in the game, he had really good get-off, and Pete sees a guy that gets out of his stance and gets upfield. He thinks he can coach the rest of it. So, yeah, strange draft, to say the least. My caution to myself first and everyone else is don't grade Seattle right away because those guys seem to figure it out and get them going.
Yeah, we quoted the 2012 draft where the first 3 rounds were Irvin, Wagner, and Russell Wilson, and that got universally panned and seemed to work out okay. He's Pat Kerwin. He's joining us on the Goldberg Noon Abraham Law Firm Hotline. Local people, local practice, local knowledge, goldberg-law.com. And Pat's weekly appearances are always brought to us, have been for over a decade, courtesy of Pinchers. Well, quickly, Pat, overall, the Dolphins came in with 14 picks. They used 11 of them and traded one to get Matt Breida at running back. And then the Bucs did what they did, made the first ever virtual trade, as it turned out, in NFL draft history. Quickly, just your thoughts on what the Bucs and Dolphins did.
Yeah, fast on Miami. My first challenge is, they took to us, so that's fine. That's their prerogative to do it. I don't think the building was a consensus on that, but they did it. So let's stop worrying about it, and let's hope the guy gets healthy enough to play and be the guy he was at Alabama, and then they will have made a good choice. The first thing is, did they replace talent for talent? Because that's what this draft was about, David. Mark, we've talked about it 100 times. You let Tunsil go and Fitzpatrick go, and the running back goes out to Arizona for nothing, and Robert Quinn's out of there. So you start asking yourself, is Austin Jackson legitimately a replacement for Tunsil? Well, time will tell, but you really would have to suspect not. And then you start thinking, do they blow it with Fitzpatrick? Well, yeah, according to the way he played in Pittsburgh. So the thing, and I won't judge that until we see him play for a year, but that's what they wanted to do. Dump big-time players for draft picks and then bet on the draft that they would rebuild a team better than the talent they gave away. I said to you guys before, it's the great experiment. Not so sure it'll work. I do like Jackson as a pick, or where they took him. I'll tell you, I like Noah a lot. Igbenogany. And, I had my cross-checker who watches guys when I have a controversial grade, thought he was as good, and this is a guy who played cornerback, thought he was as good as Okudah. Whether he is or not doesn't matter, but I respect the opinion of that guy. Robert Hunt thought they might have taken him early. Raekwon Davis, controversial pick. You do a lot of Southeast Conference games, Dave. And, he shows up. He was better 2-3 years ago than he was recently. I like Solomon Kinley. Brandon Jones remains. Is Brandon Jones Minka Fitzpatrick? I don't think so. I like Strobridge as a utility kind of backup. He'll never be famous, but he'll probably play a lot of snaps. Curtis Weaver, I thought they stole a guy that can rush the passer. I don't know. The draft is a lot of names. Do they all make the team? That's the other part of this. I don't care how much they're trying to rebuild. Will they all make it? Not so sure of that. Tampa Bay, I talked to Bruce Arians right after his pick. He was as happy as could be. He tried to bump up a couple times, couldn't do it. Finally got the San Francisco thing to swap out, and he got the tackle. He's like me, or I'm like him, excuse me. He's just trying to protect Brady, and Tristan Wirfs will do that.
Yeah, great pick, and we thought from Miami's standpoint, thought there was a couple of running backs that they had the opportunity to get, whether it was late in the first round or in the second round, and missed out on Dobbins, missed out on Swift, and they could have had opportunities to get some of these players and did not. When the top of the draft, I was critical when we did it. I've always used the analogy, 1,000,000 times 0 is still 0. And Detroit, I know, wanted to sell the pick. Did you hear anything as to why either the Chargers or Dolphins didn't move with Detroit? Because to me, anything's better than nothing. And if they wanted to get Okudah, they would have got him at 5. They would have got him at 6. So why no movement?
Well, I think they knew that those teams were taking a quarterback, and they didn't get a deal done. I talked to Steve Keim from Arizona yesterday, and he was down, and they landed up getting Simmons, which was a great pick for them. But I was more involved and interested in hearing him talk about why he didn't, or did he expect Simmons to get to him, and why he didn't think about moving up. And he said, real late, the guys started to all see the draft basically the same way, that it would all fall out this way. So back to your Detroit thing, I always felt Detroit could have traded out, but the Dolphins and the Chargers really didn't need to move up, and that's what they finally concluded. We'll get our quarterback here, and nobody too far down was going to threaten them by moving into Detroit's spot, because Detroit didn't want to move down as far as maybe the only offers were. Because once Miami and the Chargers said, we'll stay here, we'll get our guy without moving, then the challenge came back to Detroit. Do you want to go all the way down to where someone else might want a quarterback? And they clearly didn't want to do that. So they might have gotten – we're going to talk to those. So I think they had their own rules. We'll go down to Miami spot or Chargers spot. We won't go any lower than that. Once you say, and that's a good thing, because I think if they went too far, they would have lost Okudah. Now, we could argue that maybe they overrated Okudah, but I don't think they wanted. They weren't going down so far that maybe that's the risk of losing him.
He's Pat Kerwin, CBS's NFL Today Show, moving the chains weekday afternoons with Jim Miller on NFL Radio, and he joins us once again courtesy of Pinchers. The Raiders, the top end of their draft, they nailed it last year. Pat, I don't know if anyone's ever taken 3 wide receivers in their first 4 picks before, at least not recently, but they had the worst wide receiving core in the league. If a team has an awful offensive line and they spend 3 of their first 4 picks on offensive linemen, we give them great reviews. The Raiders got panned for taking 3 receivers. And also your thoughts, where did you have Arnett, the cornerback from Ohio State, who they took 19th? Your thoughts on what the Raiders did?
Yeah, I'll start with Arnett. I've interviewed Arnett many times, watched him a lot because of Okudah. You can't help but watch him as well. So after he ran almost 4.6, everyone dropped him out of the first round. Prior to that, I think a lot of guys saw him at the bottom of the first, somewhere in the 20s. As soon as he ran slow, everyone that wasn't doing their homework put him in the second round. Okay, I felt the same way. So what was told to me? Oh, so you think he's there? I said, yeah, I'm moving him down. So one of my GM buddies goes, well, go watch his 40-yard dash. I said, okay, that's fair. So everyone's got the combine stuff. And I went and watched it. And he kind of slipped coming out. And there are people that swear he's run many, many times in the high 4.4s and 4.5 flats. So that would be fine if that was true. So in a sense, so I challenged Arnett with that the other day. I said, tell me about your 40-yard dash. This is after he was picked. He goes, well, I was really one of the guys who got hurt by no pro day because I slipped. And I said, well, I'm thinking, okay, he's kind of verifying what I just watched because I was told to watch it. He's okay. Here's the things about him that I don't like. He's likable because he's feisty as could be. He's nasty. He's kind of like takes shots at guys. He likes to be the physical corner. What I don't like is I thought, and this is my evaluation, I caught him a couple times not switching with a safety or a nickel corner on a switch route, and then all of a sudden the guy's wide open. So I wonder a little bit about him, upstairs. And he's St. Thomas Aquinas guys. We all kind of know how they produce players, but it's okay. I don't think I would take him that high. And really the question is, this is the art of the draft. You have to know where to take guys. So David, your question is, did you have to take him there to get him? And that would be the question that I probably would ask myself over and over again. I probably would think I could draft lower and get him. That'd be my guess. So that one could be criticized. They're not the only team to take 3 wide receivers in the draft. Denver took 3 wide receivers, as did the Philadelphia Eagles. So taking 3 wide receivers, which I think is unusual as well. With this 11 personnel world that we're in, and that the number one personnel group that's used is 3 wides, it doesn't shock us that this draft had a lot of guys, number one, that were going to be taken in the draft. I think 35, 37, whatever the final count was, plus all the kids that they signed after this. Can you imagine drafting 35 guys and then the Vikings drop $100,000 on an undrafted receiver? That just tells you how really deep it was. So, yeah, it's kind of strange that way. People want to criticize the Raider draft because, for the same reasons you said, well, they were great last year. Now they have a bad draft. Time will tell if it's bad. I think Henry Ruggs will be a star in that place. So we'll see. Can you get to 3 starters? That's my barometer for greatness. A year from now, if they generated 3 starters from the draft, then we can laugh at the people who didn't like their draft.
Well, if you and David and I are all right on Ruggs, I still think Al came down from the skies and tapped everybody on the shoulder and said, draft the fast guy right now. And they did, which I absolutely love.
I love that you said that, Mark, because the voice of Al, you know where it comes from now?
Mark?
Mouth of John Gruden. John Gruden still is a believer in the disciple Al Davis. He lives the philosophies that Al had, and I guarantee you John was the impetus for that. And so I think the spirit of Al lives in John, to tell you the truth. Every time I'm there.
Pat, with the Eagles, you made the comment, so I'm going to ask it this way. It seems then, based on what you thought, that the Eagles did not think they could get Jalen Hurts in the 3rd round. Before the draft started, when David and I talked about Hurts on our show Friday, I said if anybody other than Baltimore takes him in the 2nd round, I feel it's a round too early. But based on your philosophy, talk to me about the Eagles. One, they take the TCU receiver instead of Jefferson. That's going to be questioned. But I do think they got some good help and depth on the line. The late lineman they got from Auburn I thought was supposed to go a lot higher. But specifically on Hurts and the receiver and just your breakdown of the Eagles.
Yeah, well, they had it. You said it. They had their choice. I talked to someone in Philly the morning of the draft, and they were hoping for the right receiver. And they had a chance for Jefferson. So, quote unquote, the right receiver for them was Rieger. They did not think they had to move up. There was not someone they were willing to give up a bunch to go up and get, like Ruggs or Judy. They were happy to be in that second. They knew all along that they were probably in that second wave of receivers. They spent a lot of their evaluation time on that group, and they like Rieger. Now, Rieger is faster than he ran at the combine, I can tell you. He's got documented track times. He ran a 10-2 100 meters, legit. So whatever he ran at combine, that's not who the guy is, and he plays real fast. So when you meet him, I sat down with the guy at the combine. He had a T-shirt on. The guy is thick. He is built. And so they got a physical guy that with legit speed, and that's what they wanted. I like Jefferson. I'm like you, Mark. I would have taken Jefferson, Mr. Smooth. I talked to Eddie O about that and the route running. He told me when Justin got to LSU, he was 150 pounds. And, he worked on it and became better. And then, of course, he was the connection with the quarterback. But Rieger, to me, and I think to the Eagles, felt like this guy has a little bit more Henry Ruggs in him. Maybe he's the poor man's Henry Ruggs when you look at him. Hurts to me, and I saw the comments about we didn't want to make another mistake like we did with Russell Wilson. I get all of that. Jalen Hurts was a productive college player, 51-5. Yeah, he was on great teams, but that guy went out to Oklahoma and basically overnight learned another offense and functioned extremely well in it. And I think a lot of people, when you sit down with Hurts, and I'm sure David has, you feel like you're talking to a leader, a real leader of men. And I think that's the kind of guy that if I'm a head coach and I train him, I believe I'm going to win games with that guy if he has to play. I know all this will have a package. Forget all that stuff for a minute. Those things are a distraction to me at times. Even the kid down in New Orleans, it drives me nuts sometimes when they put him in games. Well, it doesn't do anything for the rhythm of the game. But Jalen Hurts, as I see him sitting on the bench waiting to go if my quarterback gets hurt, there's a guy I think will be ready to go. And he will give you whatever it takes. And he might be the guy that goes 3-1, 2-2 at the worst. That's why I think they take him. And do I think the second round is a little high for it? Yeah, but if you think he's the only guy in there that has that kind of magic to him, you lose him, shame on you. So I understand why they do it. And they can afford to do. They got a nice looking team. You can take a few more risks when you have a really good roster.
And it does need to be pointed out, as we're running out of time with Pat, that the Eagles drafted at 53 and didn't have another pick till 103. So they certainly didn't think he would be on the board then. Pat, as always, appreciate your time and your insight. All the best to you and the family. Staying safe.
Whoa. Who won the mock draft, boys? This is competition time here.
How do you win a mock draft?
What do
you pick the most target? You hit the target the most times.
Okay, well, we had 8 who we nailed player and team, and we got 26 of the 32.
As a combined group, I'm proud of you two. Very nicely done.
That was our mock draft totals. We nailed 8 players with 8 teams, and we got 26 of the 32 because there were a couple surprises. Like we didn't have the Dolphins the corner there at the bottom. We didn't have the Ohio State corner. We didn't have the Texas Tech linebacker that went to Seattle. So there were a few there that got us, but those were our numbers.
No wonder you started the show with how Seattle do that. I know now that why.
But I will say we had Ayuk, we had Isaiah Wilson. I mean, those were a couple of the guys that we did have going in the first round that did. So,
I lost to Gil Brandt again on my top. I got 86 of the 100. He got 89. So I lose again.
Unbelievable. Pat, as always, thanks so much.
See you, boys.
Pat Kerwin, NFL Radio, weekday afternoons with Jim Miller, and his appearances are brought to you by Pinchers. I'll have to check in to see if they have more than the 3 locations that were open last week: Fort Myers Beach, Bonita, and Naples. Pinchers, order takeout where you can't fake fresh. The good, the better, and the best as we put this Tuesday edition of Miller and Moulton to bed. Thanks so much for being with us. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Welcome to the program.
So I've got to give you this exchange, David.
When you move up from 30 to 26,
I get a text as we're starting the interview.
And
wow, what a homer that last guest. Great interview, though. Gator Bud is his name. I'm like, I just said I don't think he was far off. We have Matt on a lot, and that's not the first time he's made that claim about that LSU team. And I actually thought he started it out right. I mean, he doubled down on everything he said for several times about their legitimacy all time. And he says, I notice the Gator part of the name. Think Florida might be this year's LSU. And I just said, no effing way. You think this Gator team has 14 picks in the first 3 rounds on it? And I said, now they may win the East. They may go to the playoff. But they're not going to be a legendary team. Definitely agree there, but Trask might be this year's Burrow. Not number 1 pick, though. I just, at that point, said put the pipe down. When you start talking about Trask, no. He's a really nice kid. He's a hard worker. He ain't got the skills to be that guy.
Well, he doesn't have the athleticism that Burrow does, but he's very accurate. There are some, Mark, if you think about it, Kellen Mond of A&M, I believe, is the best returning quarterback. There are a lot of people that believe the second best returning quarterback in the conference is Kyle Trask. Now, it could also be a down year for quarterbacks in the SEC. But we have a lot of new quarterbacks.
Well, that's why the best returning thing, he may end up being the 5th best quarterback in the league because the new guys might be a hell of a lot better.
But, like, would you take Bo Nix at Auburn or Kyle Trask for this season? I think I'd take Kyle Trask.
I'd take Nix. I like Trask. I just don't think the upside's there, David. He is what he is.
No. I don't think Kyle Trask is a Sunday guy, but I'm just saying for this season.
But I think that's a great comparison because you got Gus's offense and you got Dan's offense. I mean, I think that's a really. That's a good, accurate comparison.
Georgia's going to have the Wake Forest transfer. Alabama's going with the guy who's been the backup this past season.
Pool need a checkup? Call the doctor.
LSU's going with the guy who has sat for 3 years.
LED color-changing pool lights can
now to
create
be their
an
guy.
after-dark backyard oasis. Pick your color or select one of the light shows. You can see how dramatic it really is on our website. We're a family company. And for over 40 years, we've been
is Mike Leach going to have some guy we don't know his name throw for 4,000 yards?
Repairs and unheard of $39
that's what he does.
diagnostic calls. That's MyPoolDoctor.com.
For that matter, who's going to be the quarterback in Tennessee?
574-1133. State certified CPC 057088.
There will be parties again soon, and family.
Didn't the Stanford kid transfer there?
And sporting events and concerts.
So it's a very fascinating year at that position in that conference. Could be down, a lot of unknown.
To impact the next 10 years of healthcare, infrastructure, and education.
The quarantine quiz show. I had to put the NFL show on because Pat Donovan said, the home makeup game is bad, but Kay Adams still's got it going on, basically. And she looks terrific sitting at her television. The other 3, Nate looks okay. The other 2 look just a wreck. And she looks like she's either a school teacher or a librarian.
You know things are really bad when Waffle House is closed and Mark Miller has a positive attitude.
Let's pump the brakes there.
With that being said, here's our brand new bright and shiny segment. Mark Miller's the good, the better, and the best. Man, I hope we get back to normal fast. This is weird.
You're live.
I want to do an ugly so bad I can taste it. I mean, I had a story today where someone broke into a convenience store with a brick to only take rolling papers. I don't like missing stories like that. That's good, solid material right there. But instead, we go to Shannon Schultz. To celebrate her 40th birthday, she spent 40 weeks doing a selfless act every week. But now it's 5 years later, so she's upped it. She's doing 45 acts of kindness over the 45 weeks leading up to her 45th birthday. She started the 15th of March with her first coronavirus-related good deed by delivering shamrock cookies to ER doctors and nurses at a local hospital. Since then, she has completed pandemic-related acts of kindness, including mailing bracelets to bring smiles to those quarantined at home, and assembling and distributing care kits for 100 of her neighbors. For the better, we go to Papa John's, where John Schnattner, the founder, has donated $1 million through his private foundation given to small businesses. The money will go to nonprofit organizations focused on economic recovery for small businesses and workers. Some will go to small business owners directly to help them stay afloat. So good for him. When companies are having to get pressured to give back money, nice to see a company actually giving money of their own. And he's got a lot of goodwill he probably needs to get out there, David. I mean,
no doubt about
trust
it.
me, there's a lot of goodwill this guy's got to get out there, but we can all get better.
Did you see the Lakers got $4.6 million and proceeded to endorse it and send it back?
And also, we're going to get to it tomorrow. All of these teams that said they were paying their workers, not really the case, kids.
Oh, boy.
Had that for 2 days, been sitting on it. We'll get to that tomorrow. But for the best, we go to the UK, where Erin Bates has had a rough start to life. She was born in October. She weighed 5 pounds, 4 ounces. Then she had open heart surgery in December for a heart defect. Then, while she was in the hospital in the UK, she contracted the coronavirus.
Oh, man.
Now, after 2 weeks in isolation in her children's hospital in Liverpool, she received a guard of honor by the team who treated her as she was moved out of isolation.
Thank goodness.
She has beaten coronavirus and heart surgery, and she's only a few months old. I think we all should be pulling for Erin Bates. And David, that is the good, the better, and the best on this 28th of April, and what has turned out to be the weirdest year of our lifetime, 2020.
When I threw in the little NASCAR note a half an hour ago, got a message from somebody because I had mentioned, Ryan Newman's getting ready when they start racing again. He's healthy enough to go back in his car, and just got a note that said, wow, that wreck at Daytona seems like over a year ago.
Yeah.
And it
seems very last season, if you will.
Yes.
That's going to be, you bring up an interesting point, David. We're going to play basketball and hockey. And how the hell is it going to feel like the 1920 season? It's going to so feel like next season.
Yes, it is. It's going to feel like one of those strike seasons that started late and it's abbreviated. It really is. Miller and Moulton.
Want to thank Matt Moscona for coming on today. Pat Kerwin, a lot of football discussed in this final hour of the show. Seth Everett will join us tomorrow on Miller and Moulton. And want to thank all of you as well for joining us today. Miller and Moulton, Fox Sports Radio, where we stream every day at foxsportsfm.com. And thank you to those of you on YouTube and Twitch. Good night, everybody.
You guys have a good day. We'll be here tomorrow.
Sounds good, Giro. Great job.